Greg, we're very happy to have located you. Have they told you at all why we're calling? Do you have any guesses as to why we're calling?
I don't have any guesses. My role on the show came up on my podcast this week. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's wild rumors about me planning to dye my hair. I cannot imagine why you're calling. Maybe Charles Bricker has been located. What do I know?
Well, that is what's happened. I'm very happy that that's the guess that you've made, because I felt like you left with some fear last week because you thought we were going to spring him on you, and we are going to spring him on you. So before I do that, though, can you just tell me how you feel in general right now about talking to your nemesis for the first time, and how long has it been?
Oh, gosh. I feel perfectly fine, because if either of us has held a grudge since the early 90s, it speaks ill of the grudge holder. I didn't get along with Charles Bricker during the couple of years when I covered the Dolphins, and I have long since buried that hatchet.
Well, not long since, because he wasn't real happy when I called him and I told him the reason, because he was obviously mystified as to why I was calling him after all these years. And I said it's because Greg Cote said that on our show that if he could kill anybody and not have any consequences, he would kill Charles Bricker.
Oh gosh, but hopefully nobody took me seriously. I mean, that's a
well. I don't know. Well, we'll bring in Charles now. Charles, do you want to say hello to Greg Cote after all of these years?
Hello, Greg.
Charles, how you doing?
I'm okay. A bit of a strange circumstance here. They're telling me you want to kill me.
Oh gosh, that was just a joke. Listen, if anybody really took that seriously, there would have been a cop knocking on my door. The reason I say that, Charles, in my long career, and you've had a long career as well in this business. In my long career, I have probably been at odds with only a couple of colleagues, with a couple of other writers, and you were one over a couple of things, but and so that's why your name came up. But obviously, there's any animus I once held has long dissipated.
No, I know it's a joke. I was surprised to hear your name. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a long time. The Colonel says hello.
Oh, Greg! Hey, the Colonel. Yes. Craig Barnes, one of the all-time great characters in the history of South Florida media.
Yeah. So I don't quite understand what this show is. I looked for it on the radio. I couldn't. This is a show you do that.
Yeah, it's the Dan LeBatard Show with Stugotz, which is a very popular national podcast, and I'm on once a week as sort of like a weekly guest co-host, so to speak. And the when I was on, I think last week it was, I forget how all this came up. It's sort of an extemporaneous conversation we have, and it leads in all different directions. And your name came up unexpectedly, so that's how it happened.
My daughter was asking me what this was about, and I told her, I said, as a Greg Cote, probably not a fan of mine. I could be a bit of a handful, but the only thing I can think is, you probably don't remember this, but I got into it with your wife one time in a pretty heated way. And I thought that, I wonder if that, does anyone remember? Do you remember that?
Well, I do remember that, Charles. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't think much of you at that time, is that according to my wife, who I'm still married to, you hung up on her. We shared a phone at Dolphins camp, and you hung up on her when she was trying to reach me, which I didn't think very kindly. It's interesting, Charles, for you to admit that you were quite a handful. you had a persona that you put across that a lot of other writers didn't like. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's been a lot of years, and I went through something that, in your later years, you hope to soften a little bit.
Right.
And there's no way you remember this. I'm sure no one does, but I had a week where I would do my football picks, and I missed every game. And
yes, I remember that.
You do.
I do remember that. And I'll tell you why, Charles, because you and I both used to pick games, and our record was in the paper every week. It was out there for everybody to see. And as somebody who predicted games every week, both straight up and against the spread, I think you would admit you couldn't go winless against the spread if you tried. It's almost as hard as getting every game right. To get every game wrong is just such a stroke of bad luck. That's why it stood out to me. That's why I still remember that there was a week when you went 0-14, I think it was. And I don't know, I didn't realize it had traumatized you, but I do remember that. Yep.
Well, it did a bit. I mean, I guess good came out of it, but I received a lot of letters back at the old Sentinel, and people were making fun of me. And I went down a bit of a hole. I guess my ego had gotten a little too big.
Right.
And I really, I took a turn, and it seems silly to say it out loud now over some football picks, but I went into a bit of a depression. I'd never experienced it before. And at the end of a real rough week, I found myself just sitting on the side of my bed, and I couldn't get out of bed. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. These are football picks.
Right.
But, you have these feelings, and they keep going. And long story short, I found myself in a dark, dark place. I went up to Tampa for a bit of a lost weekend, and I always kept a handgun in my car just for safety reasons. You know how crazy it gets around Florida and Miami. And at the end of that weekend in Tampa, I found myself staring at the barrel of a gun. And and I pulled the trigger. And fortunately, old fool that I am, I hadn't maintained the gun, and it didn't go off. And
Charles, I had no idea.
And my family came to me, and I was in tears. I just walked in the door, and I just said, I don't know what this is all about. And they tried to tell me no one cares. No one cares that you missed all the football picks. People aren't hanging it on the wall and dancing around it. And I realized at that point, I had just become an old narcissistic joke. And I realized that I had put together this shabby identity as a sports writer and was all about me. And I had this beautiful family around me. And I'm kicking around like I'm king of the world, talking about tennis and football, and God damn it, Greg, this is crazy. I'm calling out. I don't barely even know what a podcast is, but tears just streamed down my face, and for once I felt free of this cheap little ego I had built, and ever since then, life has just been a bright, open sky for me, and all from this crazy thing that I just felt like the world was dancing around this week, and people had it hanging on their wall, and I almost took my own life. But ever since then, I've just been free of it. And so it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow. Charles, that is such a self-revelation by you. It's astounding for me to hear. I didn't know any of that, and I find it extremely admirable. And also what I find admirable, Charles, is the self-awareness you grew to have, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was a time there where you were very disliked by other writers for the ego, for the persona that you put forth, and you came to realize that. I'm so sorry that 1 week of picks hit you like that, because look, I've had my share of 2 and 12s and 13 and 1s, and or I don't think I ever went winless, but I certainly have.
Yeah, I noticed you're not saying 0 and 14.
Well, that's true. That's true. But I'm surprised it hit you that deeply, and I sure appreciate that gun didn't go off, because, man,
it's crazy.
I don't care.
You feel like the whole world's looking at you and laughing at you. And I remember my daughter just telling me, Dad, no one cared. And I had these thoughts in my head that people were framing it and looking at it and gloating, and the world felt so dark. And then I just realized, the world's not about me. I'm some second-rate sports writer in Florida. And ever since then, I meditate every morning. Everyone I meet now, I hug. I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't know anything about sports. We're guessing. They're great athletes. I do the best I can. And I could be a handful back then. I mean, not as much, honestly, quite honestly, not as much. Do you still have that firebrand wife? She was a handful.
Yes, I do. Yes. She was a handful.
As lippy as the day is long.
Okay. That's I won't argue with that. But Charles, I have to tell you, my reacquainting with you after all these years in this manner has not gone as I expected it to. The last thing I expected to hear is that you were driven into such a dark place by that 1 week of picks, and I'm sorry to hear it, but I'm so grateful and happy for you that you're in the place you are right now. Truly, it's really been wonderful, Greg, and I just can't recommend it enough. You only get one go around on this big old planet, and I really encourage you. We've got a house in the Gulf, and I'm involved with this group. We're called God's Breath. And it's a group of about 60 or 80 just healthy, loving people. And we live in a big house together, and we share our incomes. And it's just so freeing. And it's not like one of those weird, everyone thinks, oh, what kind of crazy thing is that? Or like a cult. And it's like, no, it's just people that have let their egos go, who are willing to give up their income for the good of God's breath, and are willing to let David, who runs the house, read our mail and to make sure that we're thinking correctly. And Greg, I would love it if you would come up, and you could even bring that lippy wife of yours, God bless her, but she will have to be quiet around David. Honestly, David doesn't like it when people. But you should really come to God's Breath, to our compound, and spend some time. Well, Charles, I will tell you this: I am truly happy that you have found your inner peace after what you went through way back when. I truly am.
So will you come up and join us?
I didn't expect to be put on the spot like this on a national podcast. I'm not going to make a promise I won't keep, Charles. I'm going to be honest with you. That doesn't sound like something for me, but it does not diminish in any way the gladness I feel for you that you found it.
We have a couple of young people who are down around Miami, Sean and Tina. They're beautiful young people, and they're down there. They can swing by. They're driving a gorgeous white conversion van. They can pick you up. and they'll take you up to the Gulf Coast. You give all your possessions to the gentleman at the front window, Barry, and you just stay with us for a week, and it's really wonderful. They're down there now. You give the high sign and just let your wife know. Watch the lippiness for a week, really, because and I say this in a playful way. She could be a little bit of a bitch.
The feeling was mutual back then, Charles. At the time, I'm not going to retrofit it.
I was a handful, but she was whew. I always wondered, if she was an ex-cop or dock worker or something, because the filth mouth her. But anyway, let them come and pick you up in the conversion van. I'm speaking now, please. And let them pick you up in the conversion van and take you up here to the Gulf Coast and really let the cheap little ego melt away for a week at the God's Breath compound.
Charles, I won't be joining you there, but my thoughts are all happy involving the piece you have found. I just want to leave it at that, and I'm glad we were able to speak after all these years.
You should be, if you look out your window, Sean should be driving past your house. If you look out, can you see him?
Charles, I'm way down in South Florida.
Oh no, he's down in South Florida.
Okay. Well, I'll keep my eye peeled.
Just Greg, at a certain point, you only get to bounce around this big old marble that we called the planet once. Get in the van. Tell her wife to zip it, not to be a bitch for once in her life. Get in the van and come on up to the compound.
Okay, Charles, you're losing me a little bit with your repeated negative references to my wife. You're the one who hung up on her. I don't want to end this on a bad note.
That's not true. That's not true. I did not hang up on her. When you say she said certain words that someone's going to hang up on you when you say them. You can't blame that on the person.
Okay. All right. Charles, I would like to leave this on a harmonious note. I am truly happy for the piece you have found, and I'm glad you're in a good spot right now. Can we leave it at that?
I still, after all these years, my temper's still, it can boil up, and I can't believe even the memory of speaking to your wife, and it started to boil up again, and I clearly have a lot of work to do, and I want to apologize.
That's okay. I understand. You had the conversation with her. I did not. I've heard my version of it, but I don't think after all this time it's worth rehashing. I really don't.
I mean, you know how she just digs and digs and digs, and you say, okay, let's let it go, and she won't. And
right.
And I just got to move past that.
Okay. I think we all do.
Yeah, I think that's healthy. Well, we're going to get you up to the God's Breath compound, and we can reminisce about the old days and the Colonel. And what'd you say?
No. I repeated his nickname, the Colonel. That always brought a smile to my face. The Colonel. But Charles, let's leave it at this. I'm happy that you're happy, and I'm happy that you found your inner peace, and that's good to hear.
I love it, Greg, and I agree. Let's leave it at this. Let's get you and your wife, your lippy wife, up to the compound, and let's sit by the beach. She can shush it, and we'll just have a lovely time. And David will really, you'll love David. David's an imposing figure. He's 6'8". He tried to walk on for the Dolphins in the 90s as a tight end, didn't make it. And David is very firm He has a very strict path that you have to walk, and I think you and your wife are going to love it up there.
Charles, I have to go right now. I didn't imagine we'd be speaking quite this long. I need to run, but I do want to say I'm glad we reacquainted, and I'm happy. I'm happy where you're at right now.
All right, and tell your wife, tell her sorry about the hanging up years ago, and I hope she's doing well. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. I think I caught the bad side of her in that conversation.
Okay.
She got a little bitchy with me.
Okay.
And,
probably with good cause.
Well, once again, let's not relitigate the past.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. I can tell you, actually, just objectively, not with good cause. She was way out of line. And as you can tell, I still harbor some grudges. By the way, the 0-14, there was a wind-blown field goal for the Seahawks.
Oh my God! He's had a good memory, Bricker.
Facts are facts.
Okay. Good catching up with you.
All right, good catching up with you.
All right, Charles. Be well.
Be well, Greg.
All right. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Goodbye, Greg.
Goodbye, Charles.
Take her easy. Hello? Did he believe that?
Yes. Holy fuck. Yes, he did. He was hook, line, and sinker.
Oh my God,
hook,
that was
line,
amazing.
And sinker. He absolutely thought that was Charles Bricker.
That's an insane conversation. First off, by the way, Chris, I'm sorry.
No, that was fucking hilarious. My head hurts from laughing so hard. Oh my God.
I called him a bitch. I asked him to join a cult. I said, there's a young man in a van who's going to pick him up.
She must have been an ex-cop or something.
Or a dock worker.
Hey, cleans your mouth, Roy.
I kept thinking he knows this is a bit, and he's just going with it because it's so insane. The God's Breath compound? If you really believe that, I got to call him as David from the God's Breath compound.
That's so great.
We have to, all right, so you guys got to let me know if you really believe that.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna talk to him tomorrow.
In a couple days, we call him from the compound.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to him tomorrow and play real cool. I think this culminates with us getting David on the phone. Incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Adam.
so much, dude.
Oh, that was enjoyable. All right, be well, you guys.
Yep.
I need to explain a couple of things here because yesterday we were all shocked around here. Honestly, if you'd seen us in the studio, our mouths were hanging open. I had intended to moderate a repair of the relationship between Greg Cote and his old nemesis, Charles Bricker. And Bricker called us. We've been looking for him for like 10 days. And we found him and we put them together, but the times didn't work inside of the show. It happened right after taping. And so we just called Greg Cote at that moment and we put them together. Mike, Billy, you guys were all here with me. You were as stunned as I was. That was one of the strangest things that I've ever seen happen. And Greg Cote, I mean, you were a picture of composure.
It was when that call ended, and I didn't think it was ever going to end. I finally made an excuse why I had to get off the line. I immediately texted Christopher saying that was the weirdest 20 bleeping minutes of my life.
You were so gentle. You were so gentle.
I mean, the guy was suicidal. He was like bearing his soul and admitting things that I had no idea about. How else should I have been? You know, I felt like he was on a Naugahyde couch and I was counseling him or something. I didn't know how to react. It came out of the blue.
We did get some answers as to why it was so hard to track him down, I guess.
Right. Yeah, he's I forget the name of that religious
God's breath.
God.
Don't laugh.
Come on,
You were so
Come on,
gentle,
Greg.
man.
Until he tried to enlist
I'm
me
with
into his
Greg on
cult.
this one.
I mean, please.
He's very clearly in a cult.
No.
Well, I mean,
He said it wasn't a cult.
Stop.
No, that's
yeah,
a cult.
they all
man.
do.
Stop.
They
If it
all
looks
say
like
it
a
wasn't a cult.
But you're not considering joining?
No,
He
hopefully
very
I'm.
specifically said it wasn't cold.
I give Greg so much credit because you just, when he made that first request, you kind of just sidestepped it. You didn't even acknowledge it.
Right.
And then he goes directly at you, says, "No, you're gonna come, right?"
Right.
And you're like, I not for me. Or you had
No,
something-
you were great. I'm telling
it
you,
it was respectful.
I mean, I'm telling you, I had intended to just moderate a Sparks discussion that would have been funny. I was going to get in the way. I wanted to get in the way 7 different times, but the things being said were so shocking, and I was so stunned. And Greg did take him in like it was just a conversation between old guys on the phone.
I legit thought it was gonna be an argument. I thought Greg was gonna get upset, and we were gonna get like this fireworks argument.
He's a misogynist.
Right.
Like, this is one of
Among
the
other
things.
things.
What Cody said to us on the front end is that all we knew about Charles Bricker is one of the reasons that he hated him is because on the tennis beat he was mean. He was mean to the women.
Right. Very beyond mean. But he did seem like the 30 years or however long it's been have certainly changed him in bizarre ways. But one of the reasons that whole thing was so Twilight Zone to me was the very fact that nobody from the show was joining us.
I mean, that's your beef. I don't want any of that smoke.
It wasn't, Mike, honestly, the way the guy was talking, I was like, it's not our place to chime in this. This is some deep shit. I don't know the guy.
Yeah, it was too intimate almost for us to interfere. I felt rude.
I mean, not intimate enough for us to not roll on it and get the
Well,
content
shit, man.
out of it.
You know what we do here.
Yeah.
You know what we do.
Greg, like you were, in retrospect, you were so polite in rejecting his
believe it.
overtures. It was like, no, I don't want the dessert at dinner when he was inviting you to join seemingly a cult.
I thought at one point, I could be wrong. I thought at one point he told me that a van was rolling past my house
Sean and Tina
to pick me up.
Were you
and
disoriented? Is that what happened? Like when he did say that, I was like, "What? Why is the van rolling past?" But you
at
must
that
have been
point, I was like,
disoriented because it had to be the weirdest 20 minutes of your life.
No, he very clearly lost his marbles. At that point, I was
but-
like, this guy's off his rocker.
That was the other question I was going to say. Do we know that he's of sound mind?
that occurred to me as I was speaking with him because Charles Bricker was a good bit older than me.
Well, then
He
now
might be your dad's age. He might be like
now I have my regrets.
Yeah, you guys.
But like it seems as though like we're just taking advantage of some dude that lost his marbles.
Greg, who's the colonel? As you guys got so excited. The colonel. Who's the colonel?
that made me laugh out loud. It's an old colleague of ours named Craig Barnes. He was with the Sentinel, so he was like a direct colleague of Bricker's at the time. But everybody called him the Colonel.
Why, was he in the military before? Or?
I don't know that he was. I don't think it was related to
Like
that.
Elvis's manager,
he
he's
was
just Dutch.
No, let me tell you something about the Colonel because this is
You know
yes,
this person?
this is some old timey newspaper shit right here.
Yeah.
The Colonel was a gas bag who pretended like he knew a lot more than he did. Was
Right.
always holding a thick meaty hand over his mouth because he didn't want anyone to overhear him, whispering his secrets because he knew George Steinbrenner and he was an important player in the media game.
Right, and his pet phrase was, "I tell you what."
And then he would tell you nothing. And then he would tell you nothing.
I was talking to Bobby Bowden the other day, and I'll tell you what.
Mike, if you had a friend named the Colonel, would you want him to sound any other way than
No,
like that?
he's got to sound like with a southern drawl.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, Cody, you got that right.
I'll say.
Introduce the audience to the Colonel. That's old school because I had old school South Florida people like Zaslow reaching out to me saying they didn't remember Charles Bricker. That's how old a rival in the old newspaper wars. That's a 30-year grudge Cody has held.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I
got the thing on the wall, right?
Yeah, you sidestepped that one.
I
You
did.
You have his 0-14 on your wall.
I was
so
looking at it.
tempted there to tell him. It was so awkward.
You were staring at it.
I was so tempted to jump in and like interrupt you
Right.
and betray you to Charles Bricker because of how good that content would have been if I had said you wouldn't believe this, Bricker, after you tried to kill yourself. It was your daughter was wrong. It was on Greg Cody's
Right.
wall.
It literally
It's
was.
still on his wall.
He said
Yeah.
he was staring at it while
It's
he's on the
still
line.
on his wall.
Right, it is. I have a photo of it in my phone here. The only reason I didn't tweet it out, which might have killed the whole interview, the only reason I didn't tweet it out is that it was a bad photo.
I sincerely hope that part isn't true.
Killed
but,
the interview.
but I also hope that
Killed Charles Bricker.
I don't know what I'm hoping for. Is he just an old man that is just lost his marbles, or if he was serious about it, then are we wrong in airing it? Because dude's definitely going through something.
I thought it was very compelling, to be honest with you, that he had a self-revelation, that he looked in the mirror at some point and said, wow, I used to be so egotistical. I was not anyone that anybody else liked. I thought I was king shit, and this is who I was, and I've gotten past that. Granted, I've gotten past that by joining a bizarre cult. Nothing.
You didn't
against
say anything
God's
about
breath.
the bizarre cult. You can't say a bizarre cult, nothing against God's breath.
Nothing
you
against
can't,
God's breath.
You can't say joined a bizarre cult,
I'm sorry.
nothing against God's
Okay,
breath.
it's a beautiful cult.
I have an ethical dilemma with all of this, by the way. I just want to let everyone know that I had nothing to do with this, airing this segment. Charles Bricker, everything that he said, I don't condone any of it.
Jessica wasn't here yesterday.
She's
not
our
part
show's
of
moral
it.
compass.
We've been
Yeah.
trying to explain
compass
to her,
broke.
Jessica, you please take us through this. Please take us through this because we've been trying to explain to Jessica what happened yesterday. Jessica still doesn't know what happened yesterday because she wasn't here. We had to just throw Greg Cote together when Charles Bricker called because I really couldn't believe he was still alive or that the message had gotten to him. We're sure that was Charles Bricker, right? They're like.
I mean, there was certainly a Charles Bricker.
No,
it was the one that we landed on.
Did it sound like
All
him?
the
Guys,
details. He
stop
knew
it.
Greg.
Stop it. He's Charles Bricker. They talked about the
He
colonel.
went
They
through a
talked-
vigorous
No,
vetting
come on,
process.
Greg, I mean, it sounded like him, right?
Don't do that.
He
I
knew
will-
the colonel.
It didn't sound like him.
No.
I told Greg that.
I thought it did. The one thing I remembered about Charles Bricker's voice, and we were never buddies or anything. We never knew each other that well. We were like rivals on a beat for a couple of years. Awful man at the time, although perhaps not now. But what I would have told you about his voice is that it was raspy. He always had a raspy, husky kind of voice, which is I heard yesterday. That's what I heard.
Well, for those listening, we did clear it with Charles saying, hey, this is going to be on the air, but I still have my regrets now.
Well, because we don't know if this guy has complete
If he's all
possession
there.
of his mental
But Jessica,
faculty.
so what we were trying to explain to you what happened for 15 minutes. We started today late because we were trying to explain to you what had happened. Greg, how explain it to Jessica? Because we couldn't explain to Jessica what that phone call was like for us, for you, for anybody.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it because it was out of left field. I wasn't shocked that Charles Bricker agreed to reacquaint with me on the phone. I thought it would be a 2-minute conversation. I did not expect that whole story about how the going 0-14 against the spread had thrown him into a downward spiral to the point where he had a gun in his hand at one point. It was just. I don't mean to laugh, but it was just so
Greg,
off the wall.
you said I'm glad the gun didn't go off, man. I was like, geez.
Yeah.
I mean,
that took
Any
such a dark
guilt?
turn.
Do you have any guilt after hearing that?
I am glad the gun didn't go off.
No,
What are
but do you have
talking
any
about?
guilt? Like, he spun out of control and you were laughing at his misfortune, and at the crux of his depression
You had
was the
it
thing
framed.
that
You
you're
still have it framed in
still
your.
have it
You
framed,
still have it
right.
framed. Like I was thinking
Yeah.
about that.
I do. It's right in here. I'll find it at some point and show you.
so no
It's
regret.
still in your phone.
Yeah, I
That's,
have it in here.
but that's an interesting ethical question, right? If someone has wronged you, but then gone through.
He's literally carrying the grudge.
No,
I'm gonna find it right now.
He tried to fix his relationship with Bricker,
Right.
and in his phone right now, 30 years later, he's still carrying a
then,
grudge.
If
Right.
someone has wronged you and it's something that you haven't forgiven them for, but they've gone through a transformation and they've become a better person, right? Is the onus on us to forgive because this person has changed, or can Greg continue to be like, no, F that guy? He was a dick.
Well, this is what we did with our trilogies recently.
Right.
And I didn't know before yesterday if Charles Bricker was still alive. Greg Cote didn't know if Charles Bricker was still alive.
And I was genuine when I said, I'm glad he's still alive. I'm glad that he's recovered from whatever his demons were, and happiness, all happiness at God's breath.
But that doesn't change the fact that he did those things.
Correct.
Right? Like, you could be happy. Obviously, no, we don't wish death on anyone. That's just an extreme, right? And we, in a perfect world, we all evolve and become better versions of ourselves. But that doesn't change, like, for you, Greg. There's no, okay, that's nice, and I'm happy for that. But that doesn't mean, like, oh, we're cool now, we're buddies.
Right, exactly.
Like, that stuff happened.
At one point, he was a terrible person. He treated other people, particularly women, very badly. But I heard some contrition there. I heard him admit that. Yeah, I used to be like that. Nobody liked me. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty neat thing to have seen in the mirror and dealt with.
Jessica, do you feel like you have a better explanation for what this was?
I just don't want to be involved.
Yeah. Jesus.
Why?
I mean, it was all very awkward, Greg. I'm not sure we should have aired any of it. Look, he's showing me on his broken ass phone. Hold on a second. I got to show you guys this because it does look.
Why are you guys still laughing at the man's misfortune?
I'm literally holding Greg Cote's carry.
He's in a cult.
Grudge.
He said it wasn't.
It's not a cult. It's a beautiful place.
Sounded like a cult.
And now we're going to get sued for calling God's breath a cult.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not a cult.
No, it's a cult.
It's a cult in the best way possible.
Are we going to get sued by Charles Bricker or his family? Because I don't know whether we
took us 10 days to track him down. I doubt it.
That lawsuit's good.
That's actually very possible.
Well, I don't, because
listen, management's across the hall, so
can we ask management about what's happened here? Because I don't know whether was Charles Bricker aware that we were recording that?
God, I hope so.
No, you can't record somebody without them knowing.
It did sound like a personal conversation between Charles and I.
It sounded like two old guys. Look, man.
Whether he grasped that what we cleared with him on the front end and that it was going to go on a podcast, I'm not sure he could wrap his brain around the concept.
Yeah, he thought it was a radio show.
Yeah. If I learned anything from Freedom, it's that when things go awry, just point the finger at someone else.
Good point.
Let me go through some of the history here with Greg Cote and Charles Bricker from the old-timey newspaper war days. Because, Greg, you would say, yes, this is right after the Miami New Times. This was pretty much the height of the newspaper wars in South Florida. Yeah. Our paper against their paper, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it was a genuine rivalry. I think of the heyday of newspaper wars as mid-'80s to early 90s, and this was right in the middle of that.
Within those realms. Charles Bricker was the guy at the other paper who had a lot of arrogance for what we at our paper thought was his talent level. He felt like he was better than everybody. Charles Bricker did.
Yeah.
And passed himself off that way, and Greg Cote didn't carry himself that way. And he made Greg Cote feel small because Greg Cote was consulting an imaginary bird to make his upset picks every week, and Charles Bricker was serious football man.
And going 0-14 against the spread one week.
Well, here is what Greg Cote has. He's shown me the photo now. I'm holding the literal grudge in my hand. It looks like something old Ben Franklin papers. It's yellowed newspaper that is on a piece of wood. It is hung up in his office.
It's not like framed in like.
It's not framed. It's taped up with.
Strip.
I'm imagining is the most amazing 30-year tape you've ever seen because.
But do you still have it up after yesterday?
Yeah, it's still up.
Oh,
yeah. In his honor.
In his honor.
Yeah.
You need to tweet this out because it feels like finding a national treasure of some sort. And it just says capsules by staff writer Charles Bricker, 0-14 against the spread.
All right. I'm going to tweet it out, but I'm going to say sorry, Charles, as part of the tweet.
It kind of looks like, that fish that's mounted on the wall and starts talking. That's what it looks like.
That is what it looked like. You are so right about that.
Don't worry, be happy.
When the music starts playing, the trout starts singing happy songs.
Big mouth bass.
I can't believe you still have that up. Thank you, Jessica.
I'm a hoarder. I mean, it's always been in my office.
Where is it? Is it over your computer? So every time you sit down to write for 30 years, the spirit of that is hovering over your computer.
That's correct. Yes.
What else
It's
is up
my
there?
muse.
What else is up there?
Oh gosh, I have just memorabilia and pictures and photos and just a bunch of stuff. But that it's not that I look at it every day or notice it. But when all this came up, I realized, hey, geez, I've still got that up there after all this time. How weird am I?
Speaking of noticing, your hair is a different color.
You know what? I thought he was awfully gray last week.
What are you talking about?
And I did not
wow,
think, I
that's
did
the
not know,
worst
I did
acting
not
job
think
ever.
that Greg Cote's a terrible actor. Greg Cote is a terrible. I thought that Greg Cote had grayed an unnatural amount in 1 week because he did let it go 1 week.
Yeah, well, last week I dyed it gray, and this is my natural color.
There you
That's
go.
what happened.
That's better.
I don't like it. Too much pepper for me.
Yeah.
You
I
need
like
that
the salt in there. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
All
you
right.
look at least 3 years younger.
Wow, 3. That's great.
Why did you do this?
Well, it came to my attention that apparently after the show last week, there was conversation with Christopher, you, I think, or maybe it was Mike. I don't know.
No,
who,
I
but-
legitimately asked, was your dad, I think I asked Chris, was your dad this gray before, or does your dad color his hair? Because you grayed a lot in 1 week, and I was worried about I thought, my God, what's happened to him?
Like some
Yeah, I've never seen Greg gray. My entire life, his hair has been that color.
Yeah.
You gotta be a silver. Let him be a silver fox.
Silver fox.
But he let it. You can't let it go for 1 week. Then the whole
No.
game's
You
up.
gotta stick with it. Yeah, you kind of.
That happened to Cowherd one time with like orange hair or
Oh,
something.
there's still some Fox Sports Radio promotional photos that got shown around the country of him with the 9 months that he had jet brown hair. Yeah.
What about not Marv Albert, Fratello. Fratello had that where all of a sudden he showed up one day and his hair was orange, and I'm just like, I mean, what's?
What do you think would happen if Izzy dyed his hair?
Oh man, no, he can't. Like if Izzy came with black hair,
Oh, that'd be great.
I would resent him for it.
Me too.
Really? Love that.
That's
Why
part of the
is
look.
His beautifully gray hair, like it's flawless. At times it looks silver. Yeah, it looks like he's dyeing it silver.
Superhero gray.
Did he
It is.
ever have like regular colored hair? I feel like Izzy came out of the womb just with a shock of silver hair.
I think it's slowly gotten more silver over the years. But why don't we treat Greg's hair with the same reverence?
Yeah.
I mean, because
but
Greg
Greg,
doesn't.
are you a regular dyer? Have you dyed before this?
It's your first DJ?
in my life, yes, I have, but
Yeah.
not regularly and not for a long time.
What made you decide that you wanted to do it?
Well, here's the thing: the mirror is evil. Like when I look in the mirror, I didn't see gray hair; I saw brown hair.
Really?
And when I saw myself in a Zoom or something, I saw brown hair. Others saw gray hair. Now, when I saw that image of me on Instagram burying Decker and Deckel in my backyard, my hair looked very gray at that point. And so between that and the comments about last week on my show here, I decided just to dye my hair, and it was quite an experience.
Did you do it yourself at home, or you went somewhere, got a pro?
Yeah, no, I did it myself.
Just for men?
Just for men. $8.99.
Did you do the touch of gray?
No,
just for
he
men,
didn't, though. That's the thing. It's very clear you didn't do touch of gray because there's no touch of gray in there left.
See, I went overboard.
Yeah.
I didn't do the black hair. I did the dark brown. I probably should have done the medium brown, but I'm looking myself in the mirror for the first time, seeing a dark head of hair, and it was creepy. I look like
It's like the reverse rehearsal mirror is what you're looking at.
You know what I look like? Pete Rose showed up at a for sale autograph signing once with
What was
jet
he
black
doing
hair.
there?
Yeah, and that's what I look like. I look like Pete Rose.
Greg, I have a question for you. When you went to Publix and purchased this item, did you go and do the self-checkout so nobody saw you, or did you give it to the lady and she was like, like, do you need this? Like, what's the deal here?
Did you
Like,
do it with any shame?
No, surprisingly, probably I should have, but I bought it among 4 or 5 other things.
Did you guys just skip over? He said something about burying Daryl and Decker.
Yeah, I thought that was like an inside joke.
I thought it was
Are
something
those
I talked
the
about.
names for
Those are his
your
boat
your
shoes.
boat shoes?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Oh my
like dogs or something
Right.
died, like Heckle and Jekyll.
No, Deck-L and Deck-R. Deckel and Decker is what I used to call
L
them.
and
Right. Yeah.
left and right.
Yeah,
Got it.
that makes sense.
We
They're
got
in
a
the
guy who
backyard.
talks to Gator after he's fried it to remind that he is the top of the food chain. And we got a guy who talks to his shoes and names them. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, please, at LeBatard Show. Have you ever given your shoes names?
I thought you were going to put it on the poll. Is this show batshit crazy?
So do you like the color or no?
It's a little dark.
So why don't we try a new color next week?
Well, what's going to happen is this supposedly lasts like 8 weeks,
Damn.
but gradually the gray comes back in. So I think I'm going to like it a lot more in a month.
Well, if you don't like it, you could just bleach your hair and then you start from scratch. Like bleach your hair and then we'll try another color.
We should do Rockstar. Haven't you talked about this on your podcast that you're thinking about just dyeing your hair for real? Like, can you in your age, can you reinvent yourself as the guy with colored hair?
On the Greg Cote Show podcast, you mean? No, we've never really talked about that. We did talk about me dyeing my hair because of the grayness and everything. That comes up on the latest episode, available wherever you pod. But it's no, listen, I don't have enough. My hair is so thin. I don't have enough of it. I have the opposite of a luxurious head of hair. And so I'm not going to be the person who like bleaches and dyes and all that. This is.
I think Billy's trying to get you to actually color your hair a color on behalf of the show.
I'm
entertainment.
trying to get him to find peace and happiness and find the color that suits him best. And if this isn't it, why be stuck with it for 8 weeks, you know?
You know, it doesn't. It's not. I'll get used to it. You know, it's a little dark. It's fine.
What if we put on a poll like a couple options of colors to try next, and then based on the poll, like that's what you would like do?
Yeah, I guess appearance should be more important to me than it is, to be honest with you.
I want you to go white, like Doc Brown white.
Yeah,
and then you can
wear
let
a lab
your hair
coat.
grow out. Yeah, and just run around and say, Marty! Just yelling, calling Chris Marty every chance you get. Marty!
All right.
Great,
Okay.
Scott.
I'll get right on that.
See, Back to the Future was a film that came out in 1985, and it starred Christopher. What's good?
I remember that. DeLorean, right?
You're talking about the guy from
so much
Christopher
about it.
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
And Michael J. Fox.
I mean, you can't sound patronizing and then remember the name of the lead.
I'm
of the
old,
movie.
okay? That's
It's a
part
different.
Of
It's a different
you
Christopher Lloyd than the one that did. What was that show?
Yeah.
Good job,
we're
everyone.
crushing it with naming names today.
Oh, that show. Yeah.
How about that flash of anger from Bricker? You saw that too, right? Where he got pissed off.
I just wanted to get off the phone at some point. It was ridiculous. I finally had to make up an excuse that I got somebody. I should have said a Fuller brush salesman was knocking on my door. I didn't know what to do at that point.
A Fuller brush. What a great excuse.
That happened to me once. And it was a guy right out of Central Casting. It was an old guy with a Panama hat and a bow tie selling Fuller brushes door to door. I swear on my life.
Last week?
No, it was like 20 years ago, but it actually happened.
A Fuller brush salesman.
This was great.
What is it? Is it like I'm googling it? Is it like a vacuum?
No, it's like kitchen products, and he had a big giant basket of all different kinds of brushes and kitchen cleaning things. And
Did you buy any?
I think I did. Yeah. It's a beautiful brush. The Fuller
That
brush.
is, we got a term on Cinephobe called 20CB, like stuff that only happened in 20th century. Buying things from a door-to-door salesman.
Yeah.
Like, you like actually had the product on hand and you went ahead and made the purchase. That's a very 20th century, like that doesn't happen today, right?
No. When was the last time anyone bought something from a catalog?
Well, not a catalog. I'm talking about the man came with a bag of wares on him and says, check this brush out. Check this spatula out. And you're like, you know what? I will purchase this set.
You think like, I mean, in small town America, do they still have like door-to-door milk deliverers?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Well, that's what Jess wasn't just saying the last time she drank milk was when they had the milk delivery. And I'm like, the 50s? When was that? Like,
my dad, Wild Bill Cote, used to sell blocks of ice on a horse.
No, shut up, man.
No.
On a horse-drawn carriage.
Come on.
Big, giant tongs.
As a
Like
kid,
the Old West?
as a kid,
Yes.
no, I don't think he's making this up.
I'm not.
Look, Wild Bill Cote was old my entire life. Wild Bill Cote, I think you're probably talking about your dad as a 12-year-old going door to door
Right.
with giant blocks of
Yes.
ice in the in like the Great Depression.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe before the Great Depression.
Where did they come from? And where did they go at the end if he didn't sell them? I mean, they melted, right?
Right. I think back then, the primitive refrigerators, you put the block of ice on the bottom of the fridge or something.
It was an ice box. It wasn't really
an
a
ice
fridge.
box.
Yeah.
That's right. They called them ice boxes. Correct.
You put the ice in there and then that acts as a refrigerant.
Yeah, and that was a thing.
But I mean, like, Greg, jokes aside, I didn't know you were that old, man. That your father would have actually lived in a time before refrigerators.
You didn't know he'd be that. I didn't know he was that old.
I feel like that's an
Didn't have a
exaggeration.
cell phone either.
He calls his father Wild Bill Cody as if he's somebody who walked into saloons dragging spurs in the 1700s.
I think my dad was born in 1916.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at 12 years old, he would have been during the Great Depression.
Working.
Bringing with a, what is that? It's not
Those
a
tongs.
Yeah,
those
tongs, giant tongs
Right.
that would carry ice.
Right.
That's why your father was always fit, right? Like, I mean, he was always a very fit man because he's running around carrying
Yeah.
giant blocks of ice.
Yeah, my dad was never overweight.
Where are you guys from?
We're from the Northeast,
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, is your favorite player. Huh?
Yeah,
I remember now.
sure is.
You know how you guys said that no one goes door to door selling things anymore?
Uh-huh.
I think if an Amazon truck were to show up at my house, because I saw 3 Amazon trucks on my mother-in-law's block yesterday.
You got excited?
And no, I was like, what the hell are these? It was like those Mercedes like Sprinter vans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, they're spending a ton of money
They
on
are.
delivery trucks. Like those seem really expensive. And I guess one was broken down because it seemed like they were just back to back and things were just being shuffled back and forth. I was also thinking this is really inefficient to have 3 of them on the same block. Like why didn't the same van just get all 3? But anyway, if an Amazon truck were to show up my house and say, give me $100, go inside and pick 3 things,
Oh, like
I think I
Storage
would.
Wars?
I think I would do it.
Like a Storage Wars on wheels?
That's
Yeah.
a good idea, actually. It is.
What do you-
Mystery box.
Do I ruin this fun game if I tell you that Robert Reich writes that Amazon workers in San Bernardino, California held a walkout in protest of low pay and terrible working conditions? The workers are asking for a $5 raise. Amazon reported a record $35 billion in pre-tax income last year, the least it can do to fulfill these workers' demands. The trucks are bouncing into each other in every neighborhood because we all have become dependent on Amazon and also Apple, which has figured out because they've got all the money in the world. Hey, you guys want 6 subscribers on a single plan? We'll do that for you. We're Apple. We can put 6 passwords on one plan if you guys want to share this.
I'm glad you didn't ruin the game.
Do you think, if you were to look into Greg's mirror where he only saw brown hair, do you think you ruined the game?
Yes.
Hmm.
Can we fix it?
I don't know.
It's ruined. It's all over. Can we fix it? I do feel like I ruined the game.
Yeah,
now. I'm
you
looking
ruined
in
it.
the mirror and I'm feeling very self-conscious
Ruined it.
by throwing in Amazon workers. Let's play the game again. Let's start the game again.
So yesterday, I was driving down my mother-in-law's block. I saw 3 Amazon trucks.
You got excited.
I didn't order anything, so I wasn't sure, but I thought it was weird because there was 3 of them on the same block, right? But 2 of them were backed up right against each other, and they had their back doors open. They were just kind of passing things back and forth. So Greg before was talking about door-to-door salesmen, and I was thinking, if this Amazon truck drove up to my house, and they said, like, give me $100, you get to go inside and pick 3 things.
Ooh, like Storage Wars.
Yeah, I think I'd do it.
But on wheels.
That's a great game. Tell me how to play it.
It's a good idea. Billy had a great idea there. Patent it.
Does it ruin that game if I do this? Because Amazon's really taking over here. They've decided to own all of commerce. And Robert Reich writes,
Man, you're
Amazon
gonna do this again?
Amazon workers in San Bernardino, California, it's important that people know this, held a walkout today in protest of low pay and terrible working conditions. The workers are asking for a $5 raise, $35 billion pre-tax income last year.
Yeah, I think you ruined the game.
Ruiner.
Dan, I think I can save the game.
Oh.
Billy, if you walk into that truck, are the boxes brown, Amazon brown, or can you see what's inside them?
No.
Oh, no.
You can't.
It's just the box?
You're picking a box. You're shaking it. How heavy is it?
Shaking it.
So it's not like the way the box would show up. So you don't see any brand names, nothing.
No, it's an Amazon box.
It's let's make a deal.
It's the brown
basically.
Amazon box with that black tape that says Amazon, Prime on it.
Do I ruin the game if I say that I saw a Daily Mail story from last week that a family in New Zealand bought a storage unit and found human remains?
Oh, I
inside?
saw that story, and I thought of you. That's the weird thing.
That's dark.
Yeah.
That's dark.
But thank you.
It's
You did-
weird
you
because
did- you did ruin the game.
I saw a story that they found a bunch of cocaine and it was turned in, like this week.
Yes, it was 55 bags of it, correct?
Not all of it,
50. What?
Not all of it was turned in, Dano.
It was
Out on the Keys, yeah. I was on the boat this week.
50 bags were
Did you
turned
find out who's who and what's what?
Always do.
What was that news story? Was it 55 just rolled up on the keys and somebody just turned it into authorities? 55 bags of cocaine, which is worth how much money?
I feel like that happens like every weekend in the Keys, right? Like that's just a Thursday.
The cost of doing business, right? That's they factor that into everything.
Yeah, I'm seeing the New York Post reporting 126 pounds of cocaine worth roughly $2 million washed up along the Florida Keys.
That's like when Amazon gives you the refund and doesn't even ask for the thing back. They're like, just keep it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You mentioned
the coke dealers are doing that.
Can you please, all of you, help me? Because this is when I was younger. You just mentioned Let's Make a Deal, and it set off sort of alarms for me on game shows that if I'm running through the channels anywhere, I will stop on them. This has happened to me with Strahan and $100,000 Pyramid the other day, because there are a couple of these games. You don't like that one?
No.
I'll just stop in for a second because I want to do I want to see how bad the clues are, because I want to watch somebody else play one of these taboo charades games under pressure. And when you said Let's Make a Deal, everyone can get around Let's Make a Deal, I feel like.
Wayne Brady's great. Big Wayne Brady.
I don't know
guy.
this one.
Let's Make a Deal.
You don't. It's on TV now currently.
Yeah, but
That's probably why.
Yeah,
I don't have cable.
I don't have TV.
It's on over-the-air CBS, so you could theoretically watch that. But I never understood Let's Make a Deal. Like I watch it, and first off, it seems like it's on drugs, especially now. Like the costumes that everyone's wearing in the audience. Like it really seems like a psychedelic trip to watch this show. Like there's a giant box, and then the box collapses, and there's something small in there. It just seems ridiculous.
Okay, so you guys are saying this is not a Hall of Fame game, then?
It's a great game. Come on.
No, but what are the games? If you can take only 4 of them that will stop you on the television, Family Feud, Price is Right, whatever the old style games are. Do you like any of these, Jessica? Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune,
Family Feud. I will watch Family Feud.
The Feud.
Family Feud.
I like Jeopardy. I haven't watched it in the last 2 years, probably.
You know what? I'll be honest. It's not the same with Alex Trebek. I can't. I tried. I tried with what's her name? Big Bang Theory. Not good.
Yeah.
I tried with with Football Guy.
I like
so
watching
good.
the reruns on Netflix because there's no commercials. There's so many commercials during primetime game shows like that.
So I have a
Takes
question.
me out of it.
I have a question for you. You like watching it on Netflix. Like, how do you watch it? Do you watch it by yourself, or do you watch it in groups? And then do you go back and rewatch the same episode you already saw when people are around? And like, wow, Jessica's so smart. She knows all the answers because you kind of
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
No, I watch it like I watch all my other shows, which is laying horizontal in bed at 8 p.m. while holding my phone watching TikTok.
Do you hold it sideways? Do you hold your laptop sideways?
No, so the TV's on with Jeopardy. The laptop's next to me, online shopping. The phone's in my hand,
Got
TikTok.
It's just an adrenaline rush of stimuli. I don't know. Does your brain rest?
I have not had a silent moment of reflection in probably 7 years. I made a revelation while watching said Rocky film, which was on AMC, which I had left on because I was watching the finale of Better Call Saul, which also, revelation yesterday that Mike, your TV takes on Better Call Saul.
Not just that show.
Mike's takes this week have been really, I think we need to start coming in with one person, either a day or a week, has to come in with a shockingly radical take, because this week, Mike Ryan has gotten buried.
Oh, no, I was very clearly wrong. Apparently, I should have given it 19 hours.
I'm talking about The Wire?
Yeah. What? I'm honest.
No,
What in art
let's not do
should
this.
I sit through 17 mediocre hours of before it actually starts getting good for me? What do you want?
You watched season 1 and you were like, this is not good?
Yeah, but I stuck with it because people told me to stick with it.
No, I'm
And
going to tell you right
watched
now.
half of season 2.
If you didn't like season 1, it's just not for you, man.
Yes, I know. It's not for me.
But you can't
It's not.
call it
Here's
trash.
the thing. The Wire is not for everybody.
You called Hamilton
trash.
Hamilton is trash, though.
Oh my God.
Hamilton is trash.
These were all on my top 5 list of corrections.
Well, let's do
from
this right
yesterday.
now. Let's do it right now.
Should I give my Rocky revelation first? My revelation was that, so growing up, everyone in my family talked about this fabled 50th birthday party that my grandma had when she turned 50, and they had a stripper there, and his name was the Italian Stallion.
Nice.
And she always talks about the Italian Stallion and how she grabbed his buns, and they were the best buns she's ever felt in her life.
Fresh baked?
So like I'm watching Rocky last night, and he comes out with his robe on, and his robe says Italian Stallion.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the Italian Stallion moniker came from Rocky, and the stripper appropriated
what
it
a great thing
for my
to
grandma's
learn.
50th birthday.
I'm also gonna blow your mind right now. Sylvester Stallone starred in a porno movie.
Yes, he did.
As the Italian.
It was
Stallion.
softcore.
What?
Though. Softcore.
No, he
Yeah,
did.
but it was still
It was
porn.
softcore.
Yeah.
Was
So
there full
Patrick
frontal
Duffy.
though?
Not for him.
No. Softcore.
Why did you feel the need to repeat it was softcore?
Because you said it like
it was
7
softcore.
times.
I'm softcore. I'm an expert on
It's
this.
like
It's
you're-
softcore.
it's like you're
Softcore.
defending
Softcore.
You don't see
Stallone.
penetration. It's a big
Yeah, I
deal.
mean, like, yeah, when you say, "Oh, Sylvester
Yeah.
Stallone was in a porno," like, you know,
Yeah, you
we gotta-
picture things that
Porno.
you don't picture if it's softcore. I
No,
agree.
It was a porn. It's pornographic in nature, but it was just tasteful.
And he was the Italian Stallion,
The Italian Stallion in the
and
words
then they
of Carl
made
Weathers.
that then his name in Rocky. Wow.
He wrote Rocky. You know that, right?
No, I know nothing about the
he
Rockies.
wrote Rocky.
There was a Black George Washington, which I think you may have referenced on yesterday's show.
Yeah, top 5 presidents.
So Jessica, here's the deal with Rocky.
That was in Hamilton, though. There wasn't a Black George
Yeah.
Washington.
No, there is in Rocky because
Yes.
George Washington
Creed,
Carver, too.
Apollo Creed comes out dressed as George Washington because the fight is on
Yes.
July 4th, right?
Yes, that was it.
Yes.
And then I turned it off after.
There- oh,
before
man,
they
that was
started
Rocky
fighting.
too.
I didn't want to see
Yeah.
people get
Sorry, I
hurt.
That was
confused.
Rocky
There's a
too.
Black George Washington in Hamilton.
Yeah.
We won't tell you
Correct.
who won.
Better Black George Washington than Rocky 2, though.
No.
The Count of Montefisto.
That's a good nickname.
God.
It's a ridiculous
I
nickname.
love that.
That's his nickname. That's Apollo. So Apollo Creed.
Also sounds like a porn movie.
Oh my God.
Go home.
Greg!
I'm sorry. Does it not?
It's right there for all of us, and he ran with it.
Thank you.
Hubble,
stuff.
hubble.
Hey, why is this music playing?
I love that this music is
Love
playing.
this music.
I miss music on our show desperately. And I've been asking for us to buy the rights to Debbie Deb for I don't know how long. So
How-
I could
how much
just
does it
have-
cost?
I don't know, but evidently too much for us to spend it because I've only been asking for about 12 months.
But you can't ask for 12. You have to pretend like you don't want it. You know what I mean? Like it has to be the thing in the storage unit that you didn't want to find. You're like, I'll give you $5. And oh, Debbie Deb's in there. You know what I mean? Not Debbie Deb, but the song. You know what I mean?
She's
If
in
you're
there.
constantly saying like, I want this, I want this, I want this, then Debbie Deb's people are going to be wise to it. If Debbie Deb has people are going to be wise to it, and then it's going to cost a lot more.
I know what this music means. It means winning Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, wait, I want to get to Jessica's top 5 observations from yesterday's show because I
Let the
do.
music rock.
I'm sorry.
Winning Wednesday
Hey,
need the
pushed,
music?
He pushed off winning. Yeah, does winning Wednesday need the music? I mean, come on.
Number 5. Roy is a Dolphins fan now? Since when?
This was shocking yesterday. I don't know what happened yesterday. I've not known Roy's football allegiances the entire time we've spent in this studio.
Had no idea. Number 4, Mike and his Better Call Saul. I already know what happened, so I don't want to watch it. Take Mike. In the first episode of Breaking Bad, you find out that Walter White is going to die.
Yeah.
And there's still 5 seasons of really good TV.
Throw it all away.
Number 3, yes, Dan.
Wait. Within the show, though, the timeline, like he thought he was going to die, and then within the show, spoiler alert, he finds out he's not going to die, and then we continue forward.
No, he has terminal lung cancer. He just has more time than they tell him in the first episode. But like, he's going to die. Like, he doesn't have long to live. He's not going to have a happy ending.
But it's presented like he's going to die from that, and then things happen.
He kind of. Well, I don't
Oh,
want to
so
spoil
things
spoil
happen.
the end, but like
Oh.
he is dying when
Oh,
he
a
decides
TV
to do what
show
he
and
does in the
things
last
happen?
episode.
I would love. Okay, look, I'm not telling you like I'm telling you with certainty that The Wire is not for me, and I didn't like it, and I thought it was bad. I just haven't gotten around to Better Call Saul because there's a lot of episodes. I have to be
Bad,
very
Mike,
judicious.
bad.
It took me 5 nights to finish Heat.
Mike,
Like,
you
I'm
can't-
a
but you
little
can't
washed
go
here.
bad. I don't understand why you guys insist on
No, The
going
Wire was bad for me.
terrible on Hamilton
I'm sorry.
and
Hamilton is
bad
I feel like
on
this is a pretty
Breaking
good law.
Bad.
If it
Hamilton
takes
is
17 hours and it still doesn't grab you, you can call it a
They
night.
never talk, right? They never have one line of just regular dialogue.
Number 3, Dan. Weed is legal now, so I don't think that that's probably why people don't react that much when.
Not everywhere. Not everywhere,
smoking
though.
it.
Not everywhere.
But I think we always get in the argument that's like, when did this become okay now? It's like, well, because it's been legal in a lot of places for a while.
That
I
much
agree.
weed?
It's not everywhere. There's still places where you go and you're like, wow, I feel like it's 2005. This is crazy. But
that much weed is still jarring. Like it is.
But there's not
still
as many
jarring.
people being like, oh my God, they smoke weed. They're They're gonna sit on the couch and be lazy and eat snacks all day. Like that kind of stigma's gone.
I understand that stigma is gone. I'm still stunned to see how it's fallen, and all everyone needed was government permission to make it something that's okay.
These weren't roaches. Foot-long stogies. Like
Which $5 foot long.
I'm so over that shit, by the way. I can't walk into a Subway and get a sandwich for less than like $15. It's insane.
$5 foot long is a thing of the past.
Jared fucked it up for all of us.
Yeah, he did.
Number 2, again, Dan. Yes, Will Smith is more famous than Ezra Miller. My sister literally lives in Angola, and her cab driver the day after the Oscars was like, "Did you see what Will Smith did?" Like, it was an international headline. It was live on television. It involved 2 extremely famous international celebrities. We all saw it live. I didn't know who Ezra Miller was until like last week. I still don't really know what movies.
I can't believe that's the objection you had from our inability to navigate that segment.
What's number 1?
Trying my best.
I will never take musical takes from this room from self-proclaimed musical haters ever. Stay out of my lane, Amin. I don't come to you talking about the NBA. Don't come on this show talking about musicals.
I didn't say I know musicals. I just said Hamilton's trash. That's all I said. By the way, Juju has a correction that he'd like to chime in with.
Ooh.
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Hi, Juju.
What's up, y'all? My correction is kind of piggybacking on Jessica. I've been sleeping on this all night. Y'all said that it was too much weed in the Draymond Green wedding. That is not a real thing. I need y'all to all walk to the ocean and grow up. I'm sorry y'all are washed, but there is no such sentence as too much weed. Carry on.
Thank you, Juju. We appreciate your insights here. Time for a winning Wednesday.
Get that music.
I do think we need too much weed winning Wednesday with Juju now. I do believe that's something that we have to have, but instead we're going with the phony. We're riding with the phony. Tony has delusional confidence about his picks. We pick directly against him.
Dan, I hit a parlay. I don't know what delusional confidence you're talking about.
We hit the parlay with going opposite your picks.
That's the point. I'm giving you guys winners. Like, I don't get what's happening.
I thought we actually won 2 days in a row. Mike, I don't know what happened in...
what happened is you flew too close to the sun, Dan, and you wanted to double down, and you wanted to do like a winning Thursday, when the thing is, it's a winning Wednesday.
Right.
Starts with a W.
The whole point of this is alliteration, Dan. Come on.
Don't screw it up.
What do you not get?
You don't want to press right away. You want to press a week later.
Regardless, we won a phony. We won a fade Tony, and now what are your guarantees here for a winning Wednesday? We've been really bad. We've won only a couple of these. We're like 2-16 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, but
parlays,
these are juicy.
Yeah.
Parlays are juicy. They help you a little bit. So go ahead, give them what you got.
All right, Dan, I'm staying in the MLB. Obviously, I've been red hot. I had my lock of the century. Angels 1-12 a couple of
We did not use that one. Your lock of the century, the Angels 1-12 by a run, and you had them winning by more than a run. That was not a lock.
Well, no, I had a money line. Hold on, I had a money line, but that's a different story.
But based on the rules of the phony, we would have lost.
Correct, but I still win. So today I've got the red hot Marlins plus 1.5 today against the Padres. They're looking for the sweep. I'm all over the Marlins.
Okay, so we will take the Padres. And are we taking the Padres on?
We're taking the run line. He said plus 1.5 for Marlins, so we're taking minus 1.5 for Padres.
Padres sending Mike Clevenger out on the bump today.
Who's pitching for the Marlins? Is
Pablo
Lopez, Dano.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Remember, the Padres have to win by 2 or more. I'm saying that just for Dan, who's been struggling with the concept of run lines lately.
Marlins snapped a streak yesterday of like 16 games or something in a row where they hadn't scored more than 3 runs. I think it was like the first time since like 19.
I think it was 17 games.
One.
Yeah, 17 games that they had in.
The record was 19.
Yeah.
That team's offense, Billy, I've been wanting to talk to you about it all week. We are now riding with the Padres.
Well, good thing it's winning Wednesday, Dano. My next pick, the Brew Crew. You know what? There's something about Tony Gonsolin. He's 14-1. He's got a great ERA, but this is it right here.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is there something about Tony Gonsolin?
I'm taking the Brewers again on the run line 1.5 on the plus 1.5.
So we got Dodgers minus 1.5. It's a good team to have.
I also got I've got a little bonus for you guys.
Oh, wait a second. Is this a 3-teamer or part of the
No. This is just something to hide away in the back of your mind for Saturday.
An acorn.
Oh, the Usman card?
The Usman card, 278 MMA Hangout. We'll be watching the fights. I've got a little something for you. I joined the guys on No Bets Barred, MMA Fighting. Love those guys, Connors and Jen. they put me on to a little something. I'm gonna put something onto you guys.
Are you just doing shout outs in the middle of what it is that we're doing?
Listen.
What words did you just say?
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't understand.
Okay,
I went so fast.
Enunciate.
Okay, I went.
Turn on the F1 music
You
because
know
he's
what,
talking
Tony?
fast.
Tony, go sit in the penalty box.
Wow,
Go
Dano,
sit
I
for
was
the
about
first
to give
time.
you the lock of the absolute millennium.
Go sit
That's
in
a
the
millennium.
penalty box.
A millennium lock, though, Dan. Hold on. Let's not be hasty.
The Millennium Falcon.
All right.
Whoa, that's a Star Wars reference. Now he's got to stay.
Go sit in the penalty
I don't
box
want it.
for 2 minutes, and we will come back to you in a second after you have sat this out, because I need to explain to the audience how terrible this has been. We are a gambling entity is funding everything around here. There are more and more people every day. I keep seeing more and more people every day. And we have not been good. Are you guys going to do that show on air, or just Jessica and me are going to do that private show? Go ahead and do that show on
That's the
air.
third time I've fed you a line and you've just laughed into the mic out loud.
But it's funny. You're funny. What can I say?
But why won't you do that on air instead of both of you
this
doing
one
a
she can't do.
private show?
She can't do this joke. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, Dan. I know you know that one.
I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds us in DraftKings. We are trying as a gambling entity. They are relying on us to help them make content.
I guess the important thing here is if you're gonna wave off a joke, don't laugh at it over the air and do what you did.
But
That's
it's
called
funny.
show killing.
Well, no,
Because Dan can't do anything with it.
Feel free to do the show with us as opposed to the private show that you guys are doing, where we all just hear your laugh and you fall out. And man, it seems really fun to do the show that Jessica and Amin are doing
I'll save
in the
you
middle
guys.
of our show.
Yes, I had a tweet that I wanted to send, but I didn't send because I thought DraftKings might get upset with me.
What was it?
Well, so Jake Paul was at Marlins Park, and I don't know if you saw how he was
Terrible.
performing.
He was terrible at batting practice.
Reports got to me that he missed 4 bunts in a row as well. It wasn't just that he didn't hit; he missed 4 bunts as well.
He tried to bunt in batting practice?
So he put out a video, or his people put out a video, or someone put out a video of him not getting hits or whatever, and I wanted to tweet out, could have gone better. But I didn't, because better, BTR, is his new gambling thing that he does. But I didn't, because I wouldn't do that to DraftKings. I wouldn't promote that.
Also,
Well, DraftKings has got to be on the joke with us. I want these parlays to be fun, coming from a ridiculous entity that doesn't know anything. Fade Tony. He's arrogant for no reason. He's got locks of the millennium that win in the 12th inning by a run.
Why'd I just add that Greg's been spectacular during this segment?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that dye stains on your forehead?
I have no idea. I don't have a mirror. Is it?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah. It's not the first time I've caught it too. Like a couple years back, your ear was covered in dye.
I asked my wife this morning to inspect my entire skull
Princess dye.
for just that, and apparently she did a bad job.
Billy, go ahead. I mean, go sit in the penalty box with Tony, please. Get out of here. I don't need your help. Thank you. Princess Di, you're channeling Cody today, laughing at a show that you're doing privately.
Yes, go for it.
Amin's got some bad judgment sometimes. I've heard it on Cinephobe. He's got that whole crew has some bad judgment. Everybody over there.
And all of us minus Amin are going to be doing a Better Call Saul recap on Mystery Crate this week with Roy and Jer Bear.
I will listen to that so I can just catch up on the
That's fine.
Breaking Bad universe.
You know what? I don't need you to watch the show. I don't care if you watch the show, but have an open heart.
Oh, I want to know what's happening. I just don't have the time. So.
Jessica, please. I am. Can you tell me, because I've been wanting to talk and watch Better Call Saul, but I've fallen behind, and so I am. First episode has just ended, second half of the last season. I am not caught up. I am behind. I didn't realize we were still doing shows where everybody has to watch them at the same time. You've now seen all of Better Call Saul. I want your viewpoints on this. I'm mad that Roy's not here because I do want to hear. It's one of Roy's favorite shows, and I'm assuming it's one of yours too.
Definitely. I think, well, I don't want to spoil anything for you or Tony, who's now in the penalty box. But I think it ended up being, there's a lot of debate if it's better than Breaking Bad or not. And I don't even know if that's a worthwhile conversation because it doesn't exist without Breaking Bad because it's a prequel and the creators of it got so much creative freedom because of the goodwill of creating Breaking Bad. And it
should say, by the way,
pioneering.
I should say that show, I was never going to give it a chance because Breaking Bad was too good.
Right.
Why would you do the cartoonish spinoff?
Exactly.
There's no chance of it being as good. And so I think people's assessment of Better Call Saul is at least in part that it might be as good or better because of what the expectations were. Breaking Bad was allowed to be a surprise. Better Call Saul exceeded
had a lot
expectations.
to live up to. And I think it stuck the landing. I think Vince Gilligan goes 2 for 2 on series finales because I really like the Breaking Bad ending. I really like the Better Call Saul ending, and I thought it was appropriate for what this series has been, which Better Call Saul, or I should say Breaking Bad was always the series where there was action, there was Walter White creating bombs and poison and rigging a machine gun in his car and doing these crazy elaborate things, and he always was winning and just his devolving into this like criminal mastermind. And Better Call Saul was not that show. And so the ending wasn't like the ending of Breaking Bad. It was very fitting of what the last 5.5 seasons have been, which is kind of a slow burn where it's a study in character writing, and you really got to know these characters and care about them so much. And I think more than anything, fans of the show are just going to miss having the characters around every week and checking in with them and seeing what happens with them, because there wasn't a ton of action in the show. There was some, and when there was action, it was really good and there were high payoffs, but the show just gave you a lot of people that you really cared about. And so I'll miss tuning in every week to see what they're up to.
I wonder, in all of the changes in entertainment, how many shows are going to be able to make a connection from that place where they make people gather around and want to watch it as it happens. This is the first since Game of Thrones, is it not? The first of any kind where everyone is talking about a single
The Last
show?
Dance.
Joe Exotic.
Yeah, Tiger King.
Yeah, Tiger King. That's true.
Do you want?
No, it is true though. It does harken back to a time where, you know, if we're like in the 2010s, we called it like the golden age of television, and now we're like in the late stages of that. I've heard TV people call it like the platinum age, because now there's so much stuff and it's like normal to have these big budget shows like this Lord of the Rings show that's coming out in a couple weeks, and it's not as shocking as it was when Game of Thrones first came out and had these big budget, you know, like the Battle of the Bastards episode. Like these things are happening more and more on TV now. And so we're like post golden age, and now we're just in the age of television rules everything and it's supreme. But in that happening, there's so much fragmentation of audiences that it does, like, I don't think Better Call Saul had insane ratings. I don't think it probably was watched by as many people even as Game of Thrones or some other shows. But if you have a show that has a really dedicated cult following that is going to tune in, they're going to create like spin-off podcasts, they're going to be really engaged on social media and on Reddit, like that's a really successful show. And they're able to do that show, carry it out until the end. They no one told them like, all right, this is the last season. Like they were able to tell the story they wanted to tell. And that's really rare on TV these days, because a lot of creators don't get the chance to let that story ride out the way that they want to. And so it kind of is a lesson in like letting creators just create stuff and not worrying so much. Like the first season of Better Call Saul was good, but it certainly wasn't the most electric 10 episodes of TV I've ever watched.
This is why I'm worried about what is happening in the streaming business as HBO cuts back, because when you mention Game of Thrones, I'm assuming Game of Thrones, epic, wonderful, everything else that everyone says about Game of Thrones, I'm assuming that reached as many people as it did because HBO has a business model.
That doesn't matter, Dano. Lock of the millennium. Again, I'll say it for everybody.
Million subscribers.
I'll say it for everybody that didn't hear me the first time. I was on No Bets Barred, MMA Fighting's podcast. They go through the UFC cards. We bet. We do a lot of stuff. I was put onto the gospel of flyweight unders, and I'm giving it to you guys. I'm giving you guys the news a la God's breath. Every time. Flyweight bouts. They're always unders, okay? There's always unders in flyweight bouts. So I'm going to go...
Counterintuitive. Those guys fight to the death.
Right. But the point is that there's usually a finish on the under. So just to put a little bit in the back of your mind, Saturday night, if you want to put in a wager on DraftKings, Amir Albazi versus Francisco Figueiredo, flyweight bout in the prelims, under 2.5 rounds, it's giving you a nice plus 115.
So we take the over. Thank you.
Love that pick.
We are
and I don't think Game of Thrones had the same audience in season 1 that it had by the time the series ended. I think it built over time because there were, you know, it had the cult following from people who really liked the book. And then they didn't really cast that many super widely known actors. Sean Bean was in it, but then, you know, shockingly, spoiler alert, they behead him at the end of the first season. And that was how Game of Thrones subverted the audience expectations and put itself on the map. Because there's one thing like Mike was saying about if you know what's going to happen, why watch the show? for so long, the convention in movies and in TV was like, well, the big ticket actor, the main character, like they're gonna survive. Like at the very least, like they have to be in the show. And Game of Thrones was like, no, actually, we're gonna behead him, and you're gonna meet all these new people in season 2. And then they continued to do like, these subversive season finales or penultimate episodes where they just killed all the main characters, and then were able to replace them with even better, amazing characters. But then, unfortunately, George R.R. Martin was not keeping up with the show's pace.
They ran out of book.
And they ran out of book. And the last season sucked. It was awful. It was the most jarring thing ever because I went from like being this huge Game of Thrones fan. That's like the only thing I thought about.
It's hard to get the ending right
I
on
was
epic
obsessed
expectations.
with Game of Thrones. I watched the season finale and I literally buried Game of Thrones into the back of my brain for like 8 months. I didn't even think about it. I was so mad. I was like, I'm never thinking about this again.
You know that
Forgot
meme?
it existed for a while.
It's a picture of a horse, and like at the start,
Yes.
the horse's head is
Yes.
very detailed and lifelike. And as it goes back to the back of the horse, it just turns into like a stick figure. And they say this is Game of Thrones pretty much. You say it's hard to stick the landing. I submit to you, they didn't give a shit about sticking the landing because you had things like a Starbucks cup on the table. Like it was just, it was so
PSL
sloppy.
season in Westeros. Like Khaleesi just wanted a PSL.
That was great though. A Starbucks cup in the middle of an epic scene from another time. That's amazing. You got to admit that that's amazing on sloppiness for a show that detailed.
If you hear a show has turned it around, like for example, I'm hearing this a lot about Westworld right now, that it's good again.
They did. I won't lie. I was out on Westworld.
But I was totally out on Westworld. I love season 1. Season 2 totally lost me.
No,
I don't
I
wanna come
loved
back.
season 2.
I love season
There were
I don't
some
wanna come
really,
back.
really good episodes in season 2 that were like films.
But I heard then season 3 totally lost everybody.
Boom.
Yeah.
But now that it's back, I struggle to find time for it because I'm just burned by how it went south for me.
So I'm gonna tell you how it went. Season 1 was awesome. I think everyone loved season 1. Season
good.
2, season 1 was awesome, and there was like a twist in there. I'm not gonna give it away, but it was like, oh wow, oh now I get it.
I got out in season 2 though. I got
because of too many twists.
Yeah. It was
Season 2 was like, and we're gonna have 7 different timelines. I'm like, wait, no, what? Like, but it was still interesting.
It was.
Then season 3 was just like, get the hell out of here.
Can I skip season 3 entirely?
Well,
Never
there's a
watched
main
it.
character in season 3 that becomes like one of the main people in season 4. So you might be able to read on Wikipedia and then catch up.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch like all 8 hours of it.
Greg, do you watch any of these things? You just blurted. Your only contribution was never watched it. It's the first time I've heard from you in
I
about
honestly
12
forgot he
minutes.
was
Look,
here.
I'm a passenger on this whole conversation. I got to be honest with you.
You've been typing. You've been typing the entire
I
conversation.
never watched Breaking
He's
Bad.
writing a column.
I'm sorry, I never watched Breaking Bad.
do you watch?
I'm the one.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What do you watch?
So-
Let's talk about something Greg
Carol
watches.
Burnett was in
A
Better Call
watch.
Saul, Greg.
Was she
I feel
really?
like that's very of your era.
Was she
You're
tugging
sweetening
on her
the pot for
earlobe?
me.
What? There's too much now. I can't watch everything.
What do you watch?
I mean, what don't?
Oh no! Don't say what don't I watch. I know what you don't watch. Westworld, Game of Thrones.
Here's the thing about my consumption. I give it one chance. I watch a show once. If it doesn't latch onto me, I give up on it. You know, I don't keep. My wife is a binge watcher. She'll watch anything, anytime. I'm not like that. I can't sit and stare at a TV
That's
unless it's great.
insane.
Unless it's great.
You just watch one of every show? Like one episode of every show?
I give it a chance. Except Breaking Bad, I never
What's
watched.
the last show that latched on for Greg Cote?
I love
Bonanza.
No, I love Hacks.
Hacks is great. Do you watch Miss Maisel?
Yeah, I love that show.
I feel like that's very Greg Cote.
I do love that
genre.
show. Yeah, 'cause
It started
it's set
good
in the
and then
Borscht Belt.
it got silly after.
Again, another Borscht Belt reference.
Well, that's
you have
Mrs.
mentioned
Maisel
you
is set
have
back there.
mentioned the Borscht Belt about 7 times. Like
Right.
I think it's. Do you have it back in my day?
It's Wednesday.
It's he's got you there.
That's true.
He's got you there.
It's not Tuesday.
The contract says Tuesdays.
You have
right.
not done one on the Borscht. You have not done one. The delight you guys get from him not doing his job. All of you. No, wait a minute. The happiness, Billy.
That's how quickly
Asking
he
me
said
that
it's
on-
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just a tremendous pivot by
Very
him.
matter of fact. Like he looks at you like you got two
What is a
heads.
fact?
Everybody knows
It's
that.
Wednesday, you idiot.
You're asking him how to back him.
You are
Next couple
making,
of days
he's
of the
making
week.
Borscht Belt references. Whittingham, just look up the reference that he's
Don't.
making here. And
Some
just,
people put Smetana in their borscht.
just
Yeah.
just read from the internet
Sounds graphic.
on what the Borscht Belt is so that people understand the reference that Greg Cote is making, how musty it is, and how most people don't know what the hell he's talking about.
The Borscht Belt is a colloquial term for the mostly defunct summer resorts of the Catskill Mountains and part of Sullivan, Orange, and Ulster counties, straddling both upstate New York and the northern edges of the New York metropolitan area in the United States.
Which is exactly where Mrs. Maisel is.
Yeah.
Situated.
The Catskills.
Yep.
Prior to that show, I always assumed the Borscht Belt was around Wisconsin because I thought it was like a sausage meat.
No, it's like a stew, right?
Makes
Right?
it Borscht.
Borscht.
I thought that was a soup.
It's beets. It's like a beet soup.
Oh,
Yeah,
disgusting.
it is.
It's a
beet soup.
isn't it a Russian soup of some
Correct.
sort?
Yeah, it's beet.
Beets are not for me.
I'm not a beet fan.
I'm more
I
like
love
beat it.
beets.
Do you really?
All right, so you're offbeat.
Greg, I feel like you're definitely of the Murder, She Wrote, Columbo, Magnum PI era also.
I used to like Columbo.
I love Columbo.
Yeah.
But they're making you older than you are with Bonanza and all of these things.
I
But
remember Bonanza. My family, you were either a Bonanza person or a Gunsmoke person. It's like Yankees or Mets. You can't be both. And we were a Bonanza family. It doesn't please me to tell you.
Did you watch Brazos?
Oh, Brazos.
No.
Really?
Great show.
It was
Yeah,
a good
it's
show.
really
Great
good.
police procedural.
Seems like something you
Yeah.
would like.
No, I never watched that.
Steve Martin was the lead.
Speaking of Steve Martin,
Yeah.
the Only Murders in the Building show,
Yeah.
that's an example. I've tried to like that show because my wife likes it. I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes. It's just not happening for me.
Why not?
So I gave up on it.
It's a murder mystery.
It's
Well, did you start at the beginning or season 2? Season 2, a bit too many
Face he
cameos
just-
in
Yeah, I
it.
The
don't
face
keep
he just
track.
made. If you're listening to the podcast, fast forward to this part on the YouTube and look at his face.
really,
When-
we're going to give people instructions like that?
That's
yes. That's how you become inclusive, Dan.
yes, that's
Inclusive. Some audiences only listen. Some of them like watching. Sometimes we have to introduce the listening only audience. Hey, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but you got to fast forward to
What
this
was
part.
the look on his face?
You got to fast forward and see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The listening
Just in the
audience.
face.
The listening audience is just like,
No,
what?
seasons. People ask me, did you start from season 1 or season 3? They run together. You don't know seasons, schmeezin. You don't know what's what. I mean, everybody's watching everything anytime. It's no longer Saturday at 8 p.m.
The
It's
noise that he
crazy.
made dismissing seasons. What I liked about Columbo is every episode was a story. You can just jump in
Why
at any
is
season.
Jessica laying on the floor?
The noise that he made right before dismissing
Can we
season.
find
now-
it? Can
now
we
to
find the noise?
To the YouTube audience, you want to go back to the podcast and listen for this noise. See?
Happy 79th birthday to Robert De Niro.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
I've always known Robert De Niro is a great actor, and I've loved many of his films, but I rewatched Heat over the course of 5 nights because, like I said, I am washed now. De Niro is so pitch perfect in Heat. He nails the assignment. And, well, Al Pacino totally overshoots the mark in
What?
retrospect.
Bad
yeah.
kissing too.
What?
Bad kissing and really like a chronic overactor.
What?
Chronic overactor.
Oh my God.
But De Niro is so understated and perfect in
Your
that
take
role.
on Al Pacino was not as delicate before. Have you been scarred by the internet with your Wire take and all your other bad takes this week?
I love Al Pacino.
No,
I
but
love Two for the
yesterday-
Money. I love
yesterday-
Devil's Advocate.
Yesterday, you were saying Al Pacino, bad actor. Today, it's whatever phrase you just used.
He overacts. He overacts. And
Chronic overactor.
but so does Nick Cage. A lot of my favorites do that. They overshoot the mark. But I think in Heat in particular, whereas in Devil's Advocate, you want the overacting. In Two for the Money, you want the overacting. In Heat, everyone else in the cast is so perfect that by comparison, Al Pacino just flies past him like he's an LA detective.
He's a loose cannon.
Who talks like this?
A loose cannon talks like that. She's got a great ass.
My favorite part about that scene is like he was gonna go big, but he changes it last second because you could see his mouth forming the B. And I think he like totally improvises great.
My favorite part of that is that Hank Azaria is beneath him, said Jesus naturally, and they kept that tape. Like he was scared by Al Pacino.
He was thinking what I was thinking, which is this
that
guy's
was too much.
really
Chronic
going for it.
overacting.
Is it like the Jamie Foxx stand up where he's talking about being in Any Given Sunday, and him and LL Cool J had a a real beef on the set. So they're doing the
right
scene.
down the street. These beefs were right around here. They blocks from here.
So he's telling the story. He says they're doing the scene, and he's looking at LL, and he says, "I don't know if he's going for an Oscar. I think this guy really wants to fight me right now." That's always great when you have two actors and one of them is like, "This guy's a little bit too into it."
But I've told you before, Michael Mann's one of my favorite filmmakers, and he just wrote a novel, which is a sequel to Heat. And I really want to read
he wrote
this.
the novel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Heat 2.
Yeah. I can't wait to read it. And I just wanted to refamiliarize myself with some of these characters because they're Heater.
We mentioned De Niro, though. He's coming out with a new movie. He's been doing grandpa roles the last 5. Yes, that's right. That was earned. The last 5 years or 7 years of De Niro have all been grandpa roles, except for what he did with Scorsese on Netflix, The Irishman. And now he's doing Wise Guys. At 79 years old, he's going back to the old formula, the one from Casino and Goodfellas and everything else. You buying Wise Guys, De Niro, at 79 years old?
And he tried to not be a grandpa in The Irishman, and you have like the one scene that made him seem older than anything he's ever done, which was when he was a young man kicking somebody on the ground. They couldn't replace that via CGI. They couldn't get a
They were trying to. They were trying to make him tougher with the kicks, and it was still a 75-year-old man administering kicks.
I love Robert De Niro. I love him even more. In rewatching Heat, I've realized what I should have already known is this guy's honestly one of the greatest to ever do it. Whereas Pacino, I think over time, if you revisit some of his 90s work, he was that guy. He was always reputed to be the guy. And it's funny because in Heat, they only really share one scene together. You have this movie.
But that was cinematic. That was supposed to be history. It's the last scene that they're sharing. They're running through an airport for 17 minutes.
Well,
it's a ridiculous scene.
No. You're forgetting about the coffee with Macaulay he had half an hour ago.
Oh, that's right.
No,
you just did Glenn Ross on
No. The coffee with Macaulay is Heat. I just had coffee with Macaulay half an hour ago because he pulls De Niro over and they share this dialogue in a diner where they both know what they're up to, but he knows that Pacino can't prove it. And then they don't speak again until the very end of the film during that final chase scene. But the movie is perfect.
That was a big deal when that movie came out because obviously they had been in a movie together before, but because of the timelines of Godfather 2, they're never sharing a scene. So this was like the big, hey, this is like Kobe and LeBron being on the same team.
But now listen to Mike. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Is Al Pacino a bad actor? Because you've said chronic overactor. That's more tepid than yesterday. And I want your takes to keep getting. I want every week for someone to come in here with a take that's outlandish that they really actually believe. I want it. I want to announce it. I want it to have fanfare. I believe as a group, we can all come up with as ridiculous a take. You've had like 3 of them this week.
Well, for our book club, we're going to watch Heat 2. We're going to read Heat 2, and we should rewatch Heat 1 just to familiarize ourselves. I saw that Pacino was asked, who do you want to play your character in Heat 2? Because obviously he's in his 80s now. And he said Timothy Chalamet.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good, shout out to Pacino. The Stugotz is strong in him. Like, I don't know, Timothy Chalamet, why not?
The hottest young actor.
Yeah,
It takes a team of thousands to replace Stugotz when he's not here, and God almighty, Greg Cote and Amin are bringing it right now. Amin has been a disaster today, sitting in the Stugotz chair. And not only a disaster, but I come in here and he's so proud of his performance that he's just shaking a fist like Tiger Woods celebrating because he got a TikTok timing right on some breakfast flan song he's trying to make. And he's not doing show with us, and he's very proud of his performance as he gets kicked out of the room. And I'm trying to start the show, and he's just eating breakfast flan and celebrating that he's finally got a TikTok right. And you're in your mid-40s, man. Like, you're trying to stay in the TikTok game with a breakfast flan song.
Catching strays left and right. Here.
First of all, it's
you're in your mid-40s?
Hold on. Yes, I am.
I thought you were like 32. What the fuck?
Yeah, man. Black don't crack. But I don't, it's not a TikTok. I'm making the video. I'm editing the video in a video editor that I will then post on Instagram and maybe on TikTok.
But how about doing your job here?
I am doing my job here.
That's growing the brand.
Breakfast flan.
That's right.
TikTok is how we're going to grow the show, Dan.
That's how we're going to save the show.
And carbs.
Save it.
Save it. Why does it need saving?
Because
of what Greg Cote's been doing all day.
Yeah, let's switch the
For
TikTok will never
example,
catch
Greg's
on.
been great. Oh,
Let's hear. On that side, I've got Breakfast Flan. On this side, I have Greg Cote reacting to the idea of television seasons. That is the sound of Greg Cote offering me
misquoted.
instant analysis. You are misquoted?
That's right. Why are you putting me in a bad light? That wasn't me. It wasn't me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It wasn't me.
Whoa!
more of that. Go on further.
I don't think that was me.
What a hip
Seriously.
pop culture reference. by
That's
you,
a
Greg Cote.
modern reference for Greg, guys.
Thank
But we should be encouraging.
Damn right. Who sang that? I can't remember.
Shaggy.
Oh, I love him.
Amin was apparently like 35 when that song came out.
People are floored by your age right now. I don't
I
think
know.
people have been. Why? How did that happen? I thought you guys knew that Amin was a grown man. It's because
No.
he doesn't act like one.
What?
I
What's
mean,
that?
you're on TikTok making breakfast
Grown
flan
man.
songs.
As opposed to all these other ungrown men back here.
Man-child.
Jessica, the Netflix documentary, is it 2 parts on Manti Te'o?
It's 2 parts, but each part was only an hour long. It could have just been a 2-hour film. I'm unsure why it needed to be split in 2 parts.
It's that series though, Untold, right?
Yeah.
So they're just trying to fill like check boxes.
But it
and
came
stuff.
out all at once. So I just watched it all the way through.
Well, I mean, this goes back to my big problem with Netflix. It's like I like to have to wait for the next episode to drop. I love the communal aspect. I hate when these things drop all at once.
Yeah.
Because you're talking to people and they're like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, I'm not there yet.
Well,
Correct.
it should have just been 1 2-hour thing because this whole story was told in 2 hours. There wasn't like the first part was a story and the second part
Well-
was a story. Like it was all the same story.
Because I'm like that show Untold, they're trying to check like, oh, we have six episodes or whatever.
They're
And
well
really-
done. All of those
it was
stories.
very well done.
I mean, these are all sports stories I've wanted to hear about, and I think there's only been
which one
one
wasn't
week
well
one.
done?
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't want to give away next week's episode of Basketball Illuminati.
Tim Donaghy.
But the Tim Donaghy one is very problematic.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, well,
Ooh.
next week, Basketball
tease.
Illuminati, we have the author of the book, the definitive book about what happened in that scandal. And he was asked to be on that documentary, and he asked them, did you guys read the book? And they said no. And he realized very quickly that this is not a very well-researched or well-done documentary. And so he gave us an amazing interview. It comes out next Wednesday on Basketball Illuminati.
Most of the
Maybe
Untold
they listened to it on Audible though.
The book?
Yeah, they didn't read it.
So
but
they read it.
Most of the Untold stories that I have watched have been good. Manti Te'o's story, Jessica, you were very young as a Notre Dame fan when this was happening.
it was actually my freshman year. So
So Amin was
Freshman
40
year
back
of-
then.
I was in 2nd grade, yes, in 2012. No, but it brought back a lot of memories because it was a very magical Notre Dame season. They went undefeated. This documentary really focuses on Manti for obvious reasons. It's about him and his story, and he finally is able to, I guess, kind of talk about it with some hindsight. And he hadn't really done a lot of these interviews since.
For those who do not know, he was catfished at a time that a lot of us learned what catfishing was,
Right.
and then kept up the lie in a mythical Heisman campaign, trying to pretend as a myth.
It was a real Heisman campaign. He was a very good middle linebacker. He had like 8 interceptions as a middle linebacker in 2012. And this whole catfishing thing completely overshadowed how amazing of a player he was for 4 years at Notre Dame. 4-year starter. He could have left after his junior year. He came back. He was an incredible player, probably in the pantheon of Notre Dame players, including, the pantheon of Notre Dame linebackers, of which there have been several
And he had a
very,
fake
very good
girlfriend.
ones. But he had a girlfriend who he was talking to on the phone every night, was texting, who he believed to be a real person named Lene Kakua, who lived in California. And he talks about in this documentary how he tried to make attempts to see her in person and would buy plane tickets, and then something would happen and she wouldn't want to see him. And so they never ended up meeting, but he lied to his dad at one point and said that they had met. And so there was a lot that made him out to be culpable after the story broke that she was not a real person named Lene Kakua. But I think this documentary kind of explains how he didn't know. He kind of thought that she was real all along until the very last moment where he realized that she was a person who was not Lene Kakua. And at that point, it was too late to say anything because he was going to the Heisman ceremony like a few days later. And he was completely caught off guard and didn't know how to respond to it in a public light. And Notre Dame found out about it. And so Jack Swarbrick, the athletic director at Notre Dame, is also interviewed for this documentary. And so he talks about how they had, media consultants and they were trying to figure out how to respond to this because they wanted to put out the true story and they didn't want to make Manti. They wanted to protect Manti, obviously, and protect, his image and Notre Dame's image. But then Deadspin came along. They got a tip in their, tip email inbox that said Lene Kakua is not real. They looked into it. This was, I think, the funniest part of the documentary because my former colleague at Sports Illustrated, Jack Dickey, worked on the original story. And I know Jack to be a very good reporter. I worked with him for years. He's very, very, very sharp, but he's an intern at Deadspin. He gets the tip that Lene Kakua is not real.
Solidified its journalistic credentials here. Deadspin it did a couple of things that were on the edge. TMZ, they were breaking stories. They were being an internet phenomenon.
Well, this is the funniest part of the documentary is that Dickey gets this tip and he sends it to this journalist, Timothy Burke. And Jack's like, Timothy Burke had journalistic skills that only like 12 people in the country had. And they cut to Timothy Burke and he's got like this labyrinth of computer monitors in front of him. And he's like, I ran in some really weird internet circles. And I even worked with the hacking group Anonymous at one point. So I Googled Lene Kakua car accident and there were no hits.
Nice.
And like, that was how they cracked the code. And so I think like the moral that I took away from all of this, because I think a lot of people will come away from this thinking like, oh my gosh, like Manti's entire life got ruined by the media spin and reaction to the story coming out. It did.
Look,
he got asked by Katie Couric on morning TV if he was gay.
Sure.
That is an unacceptable reaction to this entire thing coming out. His sex life and his sexuality should have never been a topic of conversation. He was a 21-year-old football player, unpaid, I should add, who was just trying to get through his season, and then all of this blew up and happened. And people are asking if he's gay.
That was definitely an insensitive, like, dumbass time in our lives, right? But the other thing that I won't say it ruined him because if I remember correctly, while he was a great college player, the NFL scouts are like,
right,
it's all right.
Oh, but I don't know how much this impacted his entire career.
It had
to. Before the scandal hit, when he was killing out there,
I agree with you.
Guys, the pro scouts were like, he's a great college player.
As an NFL prospect, there were definitely like he was a little smaller, but he was an amazing college player, and the documentary showed that at the time, most people speculated he would go in the first round. He didn't end up getting drafted in the first round. He got picked early in the second round by the Chargers. And so obviously the difference between a first round paycheck and a second round paycheck is pretty substantial. So you could probably make the argument that teams that did like him were like, we don't want to deal with all of this. We don't want the media attention. We don't know if he's gay, which at the time still,
that was a thing.
I can't believe that.
That was a thing.
I can't believe, and I don't.
And so
think
he dropped to the second round.
He didn't do anything wrong throughout this process, but I do think that we've since learned
he kept up the myth.
Yeah, well, he got bad
couple
advice.
of weeks.
He based on the advice that he was getting, which I think was a massive miscalculation on the part of the advice that he was getting. They just didn't see the Deadspin thing coming, and it was a huge mistake to have the information and continue on in the interview circuit, perpetuating this thing around him as they still formulated a plan.
I just don't think that anyone knew what to do because it was an unprecedented situation. So I think like he, in his mind, it's a few days before the Heisman ceremony, the national championship's coming up in a few weeks. He probably doesn't want to be found out. He's probably super embarrassed and humiliated enough already.
Right. Well, I'll extend him that.
So like I don't really know how you...
It's very clear that no one knew what to do, but it's also very clear in retrospect you don't do that anymore.
Well, I don't think anyone was expecting Deadspin to break the story in the time frame that they did. And I think from what I understand, like they had a plan in place to put the story out themselves,
Right.
but they were waiting until after either like
the-
the Heisman or the national championship, whatever, because they didn't want like the entire team to have to deal with like the fallout from it.
The humanizing
And then
portions.
their hand was forced. Yeah.
The humanizing portions of this that we have not yet seen, I've not seen the documentary, is how much did this hurt Manti Te'o? He hasn't talked very much about what it was like to be dragged through the early part of the internet as we reached a crossroads journalistically on, wait a minute, a blog is going to do the actual reporting to tear apart a Notre Dame myth, right? This is a lot of things coming together at the same time. Hatred of Notre Dame, this icon that may or may not be good enough. What do you mean he was fooled by a fake girlfriend? Are they concocting a love story to win the Heisman? Are they concocting is this story? Is Notre Dame a fraud? Is it a myth?
Dan, that was my entire takeaway from this documentary was like Deadspin literally just Googled the name of the girlfriend and were able to put together this piece in like 4 days and publish it. Why did no other outlet? Sports Illustrated ran a cover story on Manti Te'o. ESPN ran profiles on it. NBC was asking about her during halftime. No, not a single journalist or credible news outlet did the journalistic work
But he kept
to
answering
verify
the question,
that
though.
this person exists because he believed that she existed.
Yeah.
That-
Until like the Heisman thing while they were formulating.
you can literally you can make up any story and lie about anything, and fact checkers at newspapers and magazines should look into it. Like when and ironically at Sports Illustrated, I wrote a story like 3 or 4 years ago where I was writing about like this ultra marathon race and the types of food people were eating, and like the fact checkers call and they're like, were you doing X, Y, and Z? Like they call each of the subjects and verify it. Like you cannot publish the story and just go off of my word of it. There has to be verification. But what happened with this was that people went along with it and like the mythology and the story around it and the narrative was so shocking and impressive and crazy that no one thought for a second, like maybe this isn't true. No one doubted him because I don't think anyone knew what catfishing was.
I didn't
And
at the
why
time.
would Manti lie about it? Especially because Manti didn't know the season he was about to have.
No.
This happened early on in the
Right.
season before they were undefeated, before he had this breakout, insane senior year season.
Hindsight's 2020, but I remember when this was all happening, I found it odd that the family wasn't around him. There was this narrative building around him, and you obviously felt really bad for Manti as this was going on, but there was nobody from the family around. And even in that moment, I did find it odd. I never in a million years could have envisioned that he was getting catfish. I didn't have really any information to know what catfishing was at the time.
Did the documentary Catfish come out before or after this? This is what
After. Catfish wasn't in the cultural lexicon
Got
in
you.
2012 and 2013.
I don't remember when Catfish, the documentary, not the TV show, the actual original documentary where the guy Neve actually got catfish.
Manti says in the documentary that once he figured out what was going on, he called his uncle, who was a lawyer, and he told his dad immediately and was like, he was like humiliated and embarrassed. He was like, I don't know what to do. So they called their uncle, who was a lawyer, and their uncle was like, you've been catfished. And he said that was the first time he became aware of what the term catfish
Catfish came out in 2010. So that documentary was out.
But the MTV show wasn't out yet?
No, the MTV show came out.
Because the MTV show is, I think,
That's how it got popular.
Like, it got really popular.
Well, I think if I remember the timeline correctly, I remember the story came out and then a lot of people were like, oh, this is a thing. And here's this documentary about it. And then word of mouth spread on the documentary because nobody had heard of this documentary. It's a sort of very small project that all of a sudden became big as a result of this event.
To me, the reason for the documentary and the reason that I would, in my mind, think it better than 2 hours is because Manti Te'o is not the interesting part of the story. It's the intersection of who gets crushed when we all learn about the same thing. And there are days where we're allowed to talk about the mystery and say, is Notre Dame a sham fraud? Is their linebacker? We're allowed to arrive at the sinister places. Are they selling a mythology love story because they're trying to win the Heisman? He got a couple of days of that because we were all confused. Well, what do you mean? What's catfishing? What is this report? What's Deadspin doing? Blogs don't undo Heisman campaigns. Is Notre Dame in fraud and crisis? And now you go to a bunch of old people, I'm assuming, in leadership, and are like, what do you do with this? And you've got some old athletic director looking around and being like, what's catfishing? What do you mean my linebacker doesn't have a girlfriend? Is he gay? Is he gay? Might be like, you don't know what's going to, if Katie Couric is comfortable doing that on television, what do you imagine these guys were dealing with on what the lie was?
I imagine that no one had any idea what to do. And so that's why I think it's difficult to put myself in the position of Manti or any of his teammates or his parents or whoever at the university who's just like, all right, this is going to be a PR disaster. What do we do? Because this was absolutely an unprecedented situation and an unprecedented scenario. And the timing of the story breaking was the absolute worst timing for Manti, for the team, and for the university. Like, they're on this Heisman campaign and on this national championship run, and the last thing they want is for it all to blow up in their faces. And they also, I genuinely believe that they did not want Manti to feel humiliated and embarrassed, because he was a superstar on that campus, an absolute superstar. He
and
was
a nice guy, right? Like he's a really,
by
really
all
nice
accounts,
guy.
super nice, very like head down, determined football player, and people really liked him. He was everyone's favorite player. Like Everett Golson was the quarterback of that football team. No one talks about Everett Golson. Everyone talks about Manti.
I don't know what it must be like to be in your formative years as nice guy caveman trying to get ahead in sports. And now what plays out for you publicly is, oh, what a fool. What a fool you are.
And all of a sudden, this becomes word association on Manti Te'o. In some respects, I mean, I don't know if maybe athletically he was just never going to be a great NFL player, but didn't really have much of an NFL career. And I think you could argue because of this. I actually worked with Don Van Natta on a project for ESPN about this. No, because like he was trying to
prize winner Don Van Natta.
Yeah, the backstory episode that ESPN did.
I played dominoes with him, so
wow, fair play. But I worked with him on this, and he was trying to get Manti to sit down, and he wasn't far away from getting to an interview with Manti Te'o. But then towards the end, that's when Netflix came along, and that, by the way, is why this exists. This is in some ways Manti Te'o's retelling.
He hasn't
paid by Netflix
Right.
in order to go and do this.
I heard the executive producers say that they think he finally wanted to talk about it now that his career is over, because he played in the league for 7 or 8 years. And he talked in the documentary about how he had like severe anxiety his first 3 seasons with the Chargers. Every time he played football, he was a different person. He completely lost his confidence in his ability to just play linebacker, which is a position where you have to be fearless. To be in the open field and make a tackle. And he second-guessed everything that he
Amin's not
did.
buying some of this stuff. I do believe, Amin, that you might be underestimating what it's like to go into the cutthroat environment of the NFL as what do people know about me? I'm an idiot. Everyone in my locker room knows I'm a fool. I'm a source of national scorn. I fell for something on the internet.
I'm trying to be empathetic here, so
I think my takeaway though, because I do think the main takeaway will be like, oh, we owe Manti Te'o an apology, and sure, but I think my main takeaway is like the sports media industrial complex all around, like we need to do better. Like there needs to be some skepticism when you hear an incredible story like, oh my God, this athlete's grandma and his girlfriend died on the same night in the middle of this like historic football season. Like that, what are the odds of that? Well, let me tell you, probably pretty slim. Maybe we should look into it. And second of all, when the story then comes out and there's a 21-year-old who, by all accounts, has had his entire life shattered by it, like we need to not treat him like he's the subject of the tabloids. And even like paparazzi are going to Naya Tuiasosopo's house and like stalking them while they're just trying to like go home, and they have their hood pulled over their head. And then they go on Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil's doing this voice analysis. This was the other funny part, by the way.
This was amazing.
Spoiler.
Where's Chris?
This the doctor.
Frickin' Dr. Phil. He says he has these CIA and FBI experts who say that there's a 1 in 10 million chance that this is their voice, and they play the voicemail of them that they left for Manti, and then sure enough, it was their voice. It's like, okay, Dr. Phil, so who are these FBI and CIA experts that were so
the Dr. Phil stuff
like,
was so good.
Just blatantly, flagrantly wrong about this. Like, it was such a hack interview. Oh my God, he's interviewed in the documentary. Like, it was just, we need to do better.
Do we not have a file somewhere on Truth or Kakua?
Not doing that.
Cody's got some doubt about, I don't know what the doubt is. He's reflecting doubt on something out of nowhere, because I've been wondering what our vetting process was on Bricker as well, because he's not, where did this doubt come from?
Just from how outlandish the conversation was. You know, I mean, all of a sudden, out of the blue, after 30 years, I'm talking to Charles Bricker, and nobody seems to be positive that it was actually him. I don't know.
But what do you mean? What's this? How's this coming to you after 24 hours? I
No,
keep
it came
coming
to me
up
right away. I said to Christopher yesterday, how do we, meaning me, meaning you, meaning the show, how do we know that was really Charles Bricker?
I mean, his mind was sharp on details that
We got a contact saying it was Charles Bricker. He said he was Charles Bricker. I don't think it was like a Lene Kakua situation.
How do you even fake that?
I don't know.
I mean, he seemed to have some pretty convincing details.
No, he did, but
amongst some trauma.
When it got to God's kingdom, what's it called?
God's breath. But wait a minute. But those are okay.
When it got to him living in that place, I just began to think, wow, is this for real? Is this for real?
I mean, I felt that way as it was happening.
Was that before or after the gun in his mouth?
That was after.
I mean,
the gun in his mouth. I mean, he's I don't know. I've never gone 0-14 with my picks.
That's all.
I think my worst week ever was 2-12.
You're not. Stop piling on.
No, I'm just. I walked away.
Maybe 3-11.
I walked away from that with Greg.
No, he's stuck on the picks. He keeps thinking the picks thing is funny. It's like
he was
still
serious.
doing this.
Yeah, man.
He's still doing this thing where but it's not like, what are you doing?
Well, he got over it.
I mean, he pulled the trigger on a gun.
No,
He
but
barely got over it.
He got over it, and now time has passed.
I don't understand why the cult is the thing that sets you over the edge, but the gun in the mouth over 0-14 picks, that I didn't suspect anything there.
No, I didn't.
I'm not that familiar with Charles Bricker, but he seemed to know a lot about you.
This is my thing, Greg. Like, I didn't walk away thinking, man, that guy. No, I walked away thinking, is he okay?
Yes.
That was my prevailing thing throughout the whole thing. Is this person, are we taking advantage of someone
whoever
who's
that person
gone
was.
senile or dementia or
Right.
something like that?
Yeah,
Like I
what-
say, he's definitely in his mid-70s at least.
Like God's breath is just like something he concocted, but it's still like Charles Bricker, but he's just losing his mind.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I walked away
That's
with.
why I was kind as I was to him, is that I felt like I might be talking to a deranged person, to be honest with you.
But the correct deranged person, like not.
That's it. Like I never walked away feeling like this wasn't Charles Bricker.
I have no frame of reference for Charles Bricker. I don't know what it sounds like. Like I said, he seemed to know a lot about you.
But exactly, Mike. Like the details, they're like. You can't. It's not like a listener.
No, I don't know who the colonel is, but it sounded like he knew the colonel.
My first question, like, who the hell is the colonel?
Billy, you were just talking to Greg Cote in the kitchen about this, and are you the one who planted the seed of doubt? Because he is not in 24 hours. He's not articulated any doubt about whether or not that was Charles Bricker. And we've got a vetting problem around here. We didn't vet that Pepper to Earn Freedom, and I don't know how well we vetted this Charles Bricker. I don't even know. No one's explained to me the protocol on this. He didn't sound much like Charles Bricker. The Charles Bricker I remember.
Well, what does he sound like?
Not that.
What is he? Well, can you give me a hint?
When I told
I was
Cody,
doing this off of.
When I told Cody that I had spoken to Charles Bricker, I hadn't spoken to him. I'd left messages for him, and he left messages back because we missed each other. His voice did not sound the same as it did 25 years ago, and I told Cody that.
It sounded like he was eating the phone too. It was hard for me to tell.
Was it like this?
Voices change though over the years.
It didn't sound like Bricker to me.
Dude, have you ever listened to the show?
Yeah.
From like,
oh my God, Dan, you sound like a different
crazy.
person.
I sound thinner,
like,
younger.
You got like an energy in there.
Yeah.
And now everyone likes to make fun of Stugotz, like
Your energy has
Stugotz's
been
voice.
killed by the job.
Yeah, but have you ever listened to the first episode?
It's not the job.
Have you ever listened to the first episode? The very first episode.
A lot of life, a lot of young 30-year-old life.
Combative. Why is he so combative? We're not going to be like every other radio show. We're going to do it. We're going to have the people.
I think
who
we are
break
going to
the
be
news.
like every other radio show. No, we're not. We're disagreeing. We're on the air.
I'm embarrassed by those first 6 months of shows because we hadn't
Stugotz,
figured out
I
what
take
we were
this
going to
one
be.
side.
That's what he sounds like.
I take this
High
one
pitched.
side.
He was so high pitched.
I didn't have my
I
confidence
take the
yet.
other side. I take this one side. Athletes, coaches matter. Athletes, coaches matter.
Jerry Seinfeld all of a
We
sudden.
milked that for about 7 months.
We had to find our footing.
Roy, in that time, I don't mean to get emotional, but Roy just landed here a bit like a javelin, neck first, 2 hours late, just landed in the middle of the proceedings, doesn't even know what the hell we're talking about.
Sure
with
don't.
Charles Bricker. But you had an
Landed
emotional
like a
day today.
javelin.
I'm surprised we didn't make an announcement with bugles and everything else. Princess Claire was dropped off at school.
Yeah.
Emotion.
Yeah.
Wow.
The start of her second year in school.
Oh, that's big.
Oh, that's not a big. Why are you even telling us
It
about
is
that?
a-
That's
it
not
is a
that's
big
not a
one.
benchmark.
No. It is a benchmark because we got to do this every year. And like, she's not used to going back to school. Now she's back to school. And I had to pull in. She didn't want to go in. Things look different. And she pulled away from me. I was like, Yunk, come on, let's go. And then she got scared. She does this thing where she puts her hand over her ear when she gets scared.
How adorable.
Yeah, it's adorable until you realize, hey, I got to get to work. So let's go. So walk in.
You hit her with a speed this up.
Yeah, speed this up. Wrap this up. Let's go. So walk in. She sees the teacher that she had last year. Got comfortable, got relaxed, and then started getting excited. She went over to some magnetized blocks, started playing with that. And then,
those are cool.
Yeah, those are cool, man. And then went down, hugged her, gave her a little nose rub, gave her a little kiss.
Nose rub.
What's a nose rub?
We can't say the term anymore.
No, just a rub.
An Inuit kiss.
Yeah, like just like two deer.
Can I say Inuit kiss?
No,
Is that
just
good?
two
No, I
deer
don't think
checking
it's-
up on each other.
Yeah.
You rub noses together.
Yeah,
so cute.
rub noses together.
You do?
Yeah.
First Nations people kiss.
Yes.
Wow.
You're
Never
really
heard of
doubling
that.
down when we got away from it.
I'm
Right.
just.
You don't have to.
When
It's
did you
crystal
start
clear
that?
what's happening.
Go sit in the penalty box. Just get out of here. Just get out of here. You've been so
After we
bad.
call your
to help.
judgment into question, you keep wanting to
Your
be
trying to
judgment
help.
is bad.
Yeah,
It's
this
bad
used to be
on
called something different, we know.
Cinephobe. It's
Just trying
bad.
to
Your
help.
judgment is bad. Get out of here.
Guys,
Please.
get a
Don't say
green
anything else.
screen and then-
Get out of here.
Oh
It's not
my
because we have a
God.
green
What?
screen.
It is because we have a
you're
green screen.
incompetent.
It is because we have a green
Because
screen.
you're the worst.
Harsh.
Yeah.
But also because we
Very
just
harsh.
got a green
We
screen.
got a green screen that anyone can sit in front of. You have to be a special kind of incompetent to get sent out there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Mind said yes. Yeah. Last year,
Very
Billy, by the
harsh.
way, last year, this when I started. Last year.
If like we had to play a guessing game of who would do nose rubs in this room, you'd be low on my list.
I'll be dead last. I'll be dead
Actively
last.
Nose
Yes.
rub.
I would
yeah.
pick myself dead last on that one too.
That's
I'm not
adorable.
sure though. I think Billy had
Let's
the
do
right
it.
skepticism. What are we doing? You two are. What happened? What? Oh, you were so close to having. Come on.
Yeah, I faked them out.
No,
yeah.
wait a minute. Let's
bill of
not.
the cap gets in the way.
No, let's give each other to each other. Give each other over to the bit. He wanted to rub noses with you. He was welcoming it.
See, we're wearing caps.
Yeah, we
Bills
can't
were-
force it. It's
Yeah.
I'm
the
not wearing a
moment's
cap.
gone.
Yeah.
The moment's gone.
Yeah.
Moment's gone.
Regardless, is the second year of school emotional? I feel like we skipped right over that part. Is the second year of school even something that you should be allowed to be 2 hours late to work over?
No.
I mean, no.
Wait,
Not-
what
not a
what
special
grade
class.
is it?
They're not there yet.
Not, she's been at summer camp, which was basically like school year 2. She's going to be in school next week. Isn't Claire a great deal older than Julia?
Roy announced the Meadowlark policy of when to come to work on a second year of school, dropping a child off at for the first day. I didn't know that was our policy until today. I thought first day of school overall, that sounds plausible.
You honestly should have taken the week.
Yeah, I should have taken a week. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, just go
What
home.
was I thinking? Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys.
Well,
later.
I'll need next week.
Yeah.
Greg, do you remember the first day of school dropping off your children in the 1920s?
Yes, I do. That was a big tradition in
How
my
many
whole
miles in
family.
the snow did you guys have to walk?
About 8. The traditional 8-mile walk.
Uphill.
No, throughout my entire life. Like my parents were still dropping me off at school when I was in high school.
Well, back in your day, people didn't go to school until they were about 5. Now you got all these 2-year-olds going to school. What's
I
happening?
know that is crazy. That's crazy. It's
You're welcome for the idea.
plus-
It is a Wednesday, of course.
and nowadays you get a diploma for graduating kindergarten. How many?
I mean, come on.
How many kindergarten dropouts are there? Why are we giving people a diploma? For
It's a milestone.
You know what I did
Is
with my
it?
diploma when I was 5 years old? I stuck it in my nose because I was an idiot when I was 5.
Exactly. The
I didn't
dog
know
will eat
I
it.
didn't know up from down.
Exactly. The dog ate my
Literally, huh?
diploma.
I wanted to talk, Billy, with you about the incident. I loved it so much. Jeff Passan knows when he's got one of these stories that he's heard about before others that's going to break and be a transcendent baseball story, even though it's not about the things in baseball that people necessarily care about. Pirates infielder Rodolfo Castro. Have you guys heard this story? Because when Passan sent that out, I'm like, oh, that's such a good story. Suspended 1 game. I had not known that this was a rule, and this is the modern day player and the modern day millennial addicted to devices suspended for 1 game for playing in the infield with a cell phone in his uniform, in his pocket. Now, this happened over the weekend with Melvin Gordon. He was doing some practice, just running around, and a reporter saw it and said he seems to have some tape or bulky tape around his ankle. And Melvin Gordon was like, no, man, that's just my cell phone. I'm running out there with my cell phone. I did not know. Did you know that Rodolfo Castro or anyone could miss a game for being out there with a cell phone?
Well, he got caught because he was sliding into third base, and when he went to slide, it fell out of his pocket, and then the umpire just like gave it a weird look and just like pointed at it for him to like, your phone's on the floor. I'm not surprised that he got suspended a game because they had that whole situation with Apple Watches a long time ago. There was the whole Astros and Red Sox and all that. Yes. I'm like, there's no way they're going to be happy with him having his phone in his back pocket during a game.
I hadn't even considered the cheating aspect of it. I just thought it was an optics thing. Wow, that's a good point. Wow.
Is that not ejectable?
Well,
he didn't get ejected, though,
Should
right?
be.
No, he just had someone helpfully get his phone back.
The only scandal I remember with this, I think it was Pablo Sandoval who was like liking photos of porn in the bathroom during a game. And
he was hacked.
I remember also that Tim Raines famously would slide head first to protect the vial of cocaine in his back pocket.
That's suspendable and ejectable.
That is all I remember about a guy in uniform having something on him that he shouldn't have.
Pine tar.
How good are you at baseball if you just feel that comfortable running around on a field? I mean, I marveled that Terrell Owens many years ago got into sportsmanship controversies because he was running around on the field with a pen in his sock, running precise routes with a Sharpie in his sock because he wanted to have. How easy is the game for you if you're willing to go through the discomfort of, I need to do this celebration. I'm going to run and do plays with a Sharpie in my sock, and I am going to score touchdowns so I can sign a football by way of celebration after I score a touchdown.
It weights you down. All of that stuff does. This cell phone weighs, I would say, 3-4 ounces. You're imbalanced. It's in your right pocket. All of a sudden, you're listening to the right. You know, there's competitive reasons why you don't want to do that.
Ounces?
No.
3 or 4?
Yeah. Right.
The iPhone 12 weighs about 6 ounces.
Hello.
He doesn't have an iPhone 12 though.
No.
He has a very destroyed
iPhone 4.
Yeah. Mine still has the button on it. I don't know what number.
Oh my God.
Wow.
For real?
Yeah. I love
miss
my button.
that. Yeah.
You're out here pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Like a
Love
Put
Neanderthal.
it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you miss the button on the
Jess,
iPhone?
his iPhone has a button.
Damn right it does.
For what?
Jess, do you remember when the iPhone had a button?
For my satisfaction.
Whoa.
How old is that
I have no
cell
idea.
phone that
That
has
was a
Charles
button.
Bricker's photo of 0 and 14
It's
on it?
cracked, but who knows how old their cell phone is? You can't look at a phone and there's no date on it.
No, you can. You just go to like the details. It'll tell you what model it is.
Also, his phone has a button.
About this device. Yeah. It's
How do you
in
do
settings.
that? Go to settings.
Yeah, so
Stay there,
Hang on.
Greg.
the last iPhone with the button is the iPhone 8.
Well,
That's not
So
an 8. I'm
that
telling you
is-
right now, that's not an 8.
It's 2017 was the last
Really?
iPhone manufactured with a button.
That's about right. I've had this like 5 years.
but Greg, doesn't your phone slow down? Wasn't there actually like a story that they were intentionally slowing down the phone so that you would get new ones?
I would love my phone to be slowed down. The world moves too fast. Slow down, phone.
He has a 6.
Thank you.
An iPhone
Single
6.
digit.
That's a 6?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just says it is. Thank you. Cute.
Maybe it does weigh 3 ounces.
I love a phone. I
That,
love
by
a
the
slow
way,
phone.
this is another source of American myopia. If you go to other countries in the world, they do not update their iPhone every 18 months like
Thank
we do.
you.
Like it is absolutely. I know it gets slowed down, but I guess
Unnecessary.
people just power through it. But you go to like I've been to the UK before, and you look around, and most people do not have modern iPhones.
Thanks.
It's such a great business plan that Apple has, having this stuff go obsolete in
Yes.
5 or 6 years, and you become dependent on them. And next thing you know, you've just got charges all over the place to Apple because you have to keep up so that you
Lemmings.
can't have the crappy. You are in protest.
Yeah.
Greg Cote is not going to be a lemming like the
Right.
rest of you. He's going to stay behind purposefully with his old cracked phone.
Ain't nothing wrong with this phone.
I
Got
mean,
everything in here I need.
At a certain point, though, like I'm now, you can't even buy the phone, I don't think, right? Like you go and like you're paying like a monthly fee for your phone.
Because the phones are so ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
They're like $999 for the basic model.
Yeah, before you just go and you're like, oh, what does Best Buy have on sale? Like, oh, I get this phone for $1.
Free,
Sure,
yeah.
I'll get the free phone. Like, that's fine. But like this phone that I have now is a newer one, and it was time to renew the plan, and it was cheaper to get a new one than to continue with my 2-year-old phone.
Are we still doing the contract wars? Remember, like there was a period there where it was like they did that. They gave you the phone for $1 because then you signed like a 2-year deal with Sprint. And that's it. You're with them now. And then to switch networks, you'd have to get a new phone because this is a Sprint phone. It won't work on T-Mobile.
That's a great question. I feel like Verizon and AT&T and Sprint used to be all in a battle. They had that one guy who would answer the phone on the commercial and say, "Can you hear me now?"
Good.
Yes.
I haven't thought about my cell
Meme
phone
was
carrier
39
in
back
like
then.
8 years.
I mean, it used to have the logo on your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you guys remember when there was a promotion? I don't know if every company did it, but certain companies did. It was just called iPhone Forever. And you
I remember that. It was AT&T that did that.
You pay like a couple bucks a month, and it was like anytime there's a new iPhone, you get it for free.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I'm gonna date myself here. Do you guys remember?
Well, we learned you're in your mid-40s today, and you've sounded and acted
There's
more
some
like
revving
Greg
there.
Cote today. You have sounded just like him today. You're deteriorating.
I was gonna say, do you remember free PCS to PCS minutes? Jeff,
Oh, what?
No?
Who needs a new
Oh my God! What a time! Sprint came out with first of all, you only had a certain amount of minutes. You had like 500 minutes a month
Yep.
Yeah.
until
To do
And
what?
if you were on a
Judicious.
family plan, God help you.
to talk. You had 500 minutes for the month, but it was free after like 9 p.m. 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. It was anytime. They called it anytime, so you could talk as long as you wanted.
remember that.
Right?
Anytime minutes.
So then, like, Sprint was the first one to come out with, hey, you got your 500 minutes a month, and it's anytime after 9 p.m. But guess what? If you're calling someone who also has a Sprint phone, free.
Free.
All of it is free. And people lost their mind because it's like, how can they afford it? How are they not going out of business? All these minutes going out there.
Is that why some people have Sprint?
I no longer have Sprint.
Sprint?
I've been migrated over
Verizon.
to T-Mobile.
Yeah, Sprint got bought.
Happy T-Mobile Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm on
Yesterday.
Verizon.
Me too. I'm a Verizon man myself. I used to. No, I never. You know what? I was Singular. You remember Singular?
Oh yeah, Singular.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
had Singular.
I had Singular,
Yep.
and then I can't remember what happened. Oh, they merged, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this because AT&T was the most expensive one.
I was trying to feed Greg a killer joke,
Oh.
but he got up and he checked out. I was gonna feed him in his headphones. I was a Magic Jack man.
Magic Jack. Yes.
Who needs me?
Just
God.
yeah, let's get an ending. Just say I was a Magic Jack man.
I was a Magic Jack man. Jacking it.
2 weeks ago, Tony and Amin were here at the Clevelander in the kitchen.
Mhm.
We were having a nice conversation one Thursday after the show.
Mm-hmm.
I was eating tortilla chips.
Oh, I love a good tortilla.
We were
chip.
too. The guac was good.
Oh my god.
One got lodged in my throat, as tortilla chips often do.
Well,
The pointy end sometimes goes down sideways.
Very shardy.
You don't chew it well before allowing that.
with a D, Shardy with a D.
Yes, very shardy. I did chew it, Dan. It got stuck in my throat in between my windpipe and my vocal cords.
Oh no.
I
wedged.
was coughing for about 15 minutes. I couldn't
Give
breathe.
or take.
Welcome to the club.
Once I was able to start breathing again, I couldn't speak. My voice was gone. This tortilla chip destroyed my vocal cords somehow. In the meantime,
I've never heard of this. I've heard of liquid going down the wrong pipe. I have not heard of food getting lodged in the wrong pipe.
well, it went down the wrong pipe apparently, and it was in the middle of a conversation with Tony and Amin.
Mm-hmm.
And 15 minutes later, when I was finally able to breathe and speak again, they were still having their conversation.
Wow.
And neither of them,
no,
even
no.
as I was coughing and
Oh,
saying,
no.
I'm joking, I'm joking.
No.
did anything for me.
I thought you said you were joking.
Yeah, me too. And we were building out Tummy Ache City at that point.
Yes, that's what it was.
That's what it
We're
was.
talking
We were
about
building out Tummy Ache City.
Who plays what role? Who's the mayor?
Yeah.
Who's the law enforcement? Who's the organized crime in Tummy Ache City?
You were the mayor of Tummy Ache City that day.
What'd you come up with? How does Tummy Ache City work?
Well,
I think Tums was one of the crime bosses.
Yes.
And Alka-Seltzer was the rival crime boss.
Yes.
Wow.
And then like Salsa was like the chief of police.
Wouldn't like Alka-Seltzer be like emergency services in Tummy Ache
No.
City?
Tummy Ache City.
Tummy Ache City, they want tummy aches.
Yes.
Right, correct.
Like if you
It's
get
like
rid of
Gotham.
the tummy aches, it's not Tummy Ache City anymore.
Right.
Alka-Seltzer sounds like the mayor.
Mm.
No.
Like a-
It's a crime boss. Because
okay.
Because if you clean up all the tummy aches, guess what? It's not Tummy Ache City anymore. So it has to be the opposite, right? If you're trying to eliminate the tummy aches, you are the villain in this case. And so Alka-Seltzer and Tums, those are the two big crime bosses.
Mhm.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So like Imodium would be the Joker, not like Batman?
Yes.
God, now you're
Yes.
Now you get it.
Why?
Pepto is like the corrupt police officer who's on the take.
Yes.
KO
Definitely.
Pectate. What about them?
looks like should give you a tummy ache, doesn't give you a tummy ache.
Not surprising to anyone, Billy just emerged from under his desk with Imodium flashed at me. In
Oh,
any
there it
case,
is.
any all that runs is his mouth.
It's like a meeting
The
of the
five
crime
families.
bosses. Yeah, the five
families.
families.
He's got a
I know
crime
you got
family
family somewhere in there.
under his
The Godfather
microphone.
over here.
He's got
Where were
Alka-Seltzer.
those the other night when you had a
When you had a
one-way
Tummy Ache
ticket
City,
to Tummy
yeah.
Ache City?
I got that yesterday on my way in. I bought these. I stopped at the CVS and I'm like, I need something.
When you went in there, they said, "I'm gonna give you an offer you can't."
How many?
Inconsiderate colleagues did Jessica have too?
All of
here,
them.
hold on.
I was literally choking and
about
saying,
Pepto.
"I'm choking," and no one did anything.
No, because I saw it. I saw it happen. I saw it take place.
Yes,
she
you
was
saw
to my.
it. We were like
to my
literally
9.
next to each other.
Right. Yeah. Correct.
She was to my 9.
Yeah, she was to my 9.
Jesus.
And I saw it happening, and I was like,
Yeah.
What
I
are
was
you,
like,
a sniper?
No, but in Tony's
Marine
defense,
yes, I am actually. By the
in
way.
Tony's defense, okay?
Thank you, Billy.
Like when you go and you take kids, Greg can tell you, Greg's had children that you take to swim class, whatever. Sometimes, and I think Andre Dawson, the Hawk, came on and he even told us, sometimes you just toss the kid right in the water.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that's how you figure it out. So maybe that's what they were doing. They're like, you know what? Jess
Sink or
needs to
swim.
figure this one out.
She's
Yeah.
gonna figure it out exactly. There's a bit of Darwin's evolution. Like, is she gonna be the survival of the fittest? Is she gonna be like
What?
her species that continues, or is it gonna be the species that dies? I don't know. I'm not
Because
God.
you
I
guys
can't.
are
Is that
kind
how
of
you
fear.
feel about all preventable deaths? Because
Just
holy
saying.
shit.
Can't interfere. We can't interfere with what nature wants.
Jess, I
Exactly.
feel like you could have given yourself a self-Heimlich, and you didn't.
Lazy.
Wow.
Lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy Gen
Save
Z.
yourself.
Yeah.
Excuse
Instead,
me.
you
I
were
think we're
waiting
mansplaining
for
death
the
to you.
man to come to your rescue. I don't know what that's all
Whoa,
about. I mean,
no.
come on.
Hey, Greg.
Give yourself a
Self-Heimlich?
Yeah, do the self-Heimlich.
What is a
How do you do
self-Heimlich, Greg?
I don't know, but it feels like it should be a thing, doesn't it?
Demonstrate.
Run
You gotta
yourself into a
demonstrate.
couch. Yeah.
Dan looks like he's gonna
Like
kill
that.
you.
like that.
Wait,
It
how
was
do you
in
go?
my throat. It was like right
okay.
here.
I misunderstood. We go like this.
Oh, that's it. Got it.
He's been so good today that he's totally petered out. Like he's run out of gas for the last 90 minutes or so. He's barely been paying attention.
He hasn't coughed once today, though.
No,
He did.
it's like-
Damn right.
Don't jinx
I'm
it.
not even
Don't
sure.
jinx it.
I'm not even sure what gender stereotype he like threw at me that I needed a man to give me a
I
Heimlich.
was just
Like,
kidding.
Yes,
Felt like
there are
you-
only men in the room. If you haven't noticed, only men work here, Greg.
Only
Jody,
men- only
Kristen.
men in the building.
Kristen poisoned me,
I don't
too.
think they were
forget
there.
that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Only man's.
Only men in the building.
There you go.
Which one was worse? Hold on.
What?
What would possess you
Did you survive?
to say to Jessica as she was
Barely.
choking on a tortilla that she was waiting for men to rescue her who were talking
Yeah, it
about
was a joke.
Tummy Ache City?
Right. It was a joke. I do think I'm onto something though with the self-Heimlich.
Yeah.
There has to be a way to,
You're in a panic. You're scared. You need the Heimlich specifically because someone else has to help you because you've been incapacitated.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
it's
You
oxymoronic to call it a self Heimlich. Those things can't coexist.
If you invent the self-Heimlich, you're onto something.
Greg,
That's
if
all
you
I'm
ever
saying.
go into cardiac arrest, I'm just gonna say, better give yourself CPR.
Can right here, like
Well, that's cruel. This is a little harsh.
that's where Greg draws the
Better
line.
self-defibrillate.
I mean, seriously. If I had a paddle, I'd put it on myself.
Can I
No
hear
question
the
about that.
sound,
Oh, yeah.
please, that we wrestled away from ESPN of Bomani choking?
Welcome back to the right time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Oh,
excuse me. Help me. Oh.
Jesus.
Welcome back to the right time with Bomani Jones here. We're going to be joined by Brian Windhorst, our insider at ESPN, here very shortly.
I'm good. Something got caught down my throat. Sorry about that, Brian. In the meantime, how do the Cavs not have a general manager right now?
Well, some would argue.
Whittingham, why are you jealous of Julian Edelman's podcast idea? What is his podcast idea?
In the meantime, so I'm mostly jealous of the name of the podcast. The concept itself is not necessarily revelatory. It's basically Julian Edelman and a comedian going through great games in sports history. And they're kind of chronicling them, and they're going to, talk to people who were involved. But the name of the podcast is Games with Names, meaning that it's like the catch, the comeback. Like it's just they're only going to talk about games that have been given a title, the LeBron block.
The Immaculate Reception.
The Immaculate Reception. But really, I think they started with the name Games with Names and worked from there.
How many are there? Are there enough to make this a podcast series that could go more than a year?
No.
Sure. No, there are. There are lots of great.
That's what I was
Lots
thinking.
of great games.
Short-lived podcast.
But that's how Basketball Illuminati was born. We came up with the name first, and then we're like, oh wait, what if we do this like from a conspiracy theory angle? That's how it happened. Real talk.
That's
same with the Greg
should
Cote
not
show.
have admitted that.
Real talk.
To be fair to Julian Edelman, there are like 16 games of the century in college football. So that's at least like a year's worth of content.
He's laughing at his own joke. He is now
loves it.
He's going to start coughing in a second because of how delighted he is with himself and his joke. That's how the Greg Cote Show, featuring Greg Cote.
Featuring would be too wordy.
That's how the Greg Cote Show, featuring Greg Cote.
Please.
That's how the
respect,
Greg
please.
Cote Show, featuring Greg.
With. Not featuring.
Got its start.
Thank you.
You have been terrible today and wonderful, at least in part, because you talked a lot. We basically emptied your tank in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't have the stamina anymore to go 3 straight hours totally engaged. You have been out of the show for about 65 to 70 minutes.
You're welcome.
I'm not. I wasn't here for that.
You have missed.
I waited for you, Roy.
I know you did.
You have missed one hell of a show, Roy. This show today has some epic reverberations because it's been one of the strangest things we've ever done around here. I'm still reeling from learning that Charles Bricker is still alive. I'm still reeling from the confusion of that phone call with Greg Cote. Your son's not here today.
Right.
Usually your son will mock you every time you air. He will be excessively cruel to you. Where is he on the content of this Bricker phone call? Does he have an opinion anywhere on like what our liability issues are because we have now aired somebody who's losing it or might not be Charles Bricker, that blasphemes against him as a misogynist and everything else?
Right. The only thing I asked him was, because it was so astoundingly strange, I said, how do we know that was Bricker? And he's like, as far as I know, they found out and they vetted and whatever. So I don't know. That's all I can say. I think I might want his number to get him on the Greg Cote Show. Then again, probably not. So we'll see about that.
You got David on the Greg Cote Show.
Who?
David.
Samson?
The one that runs God's Breath.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, God's Breath, right. I forgot about that.
Call him up, Billy. Let's see if we can let's see if we can call God's Breath. Where was it? In the Gulf Coast in Tampa? Let's see if we can call God's Breath and get David to finish this conversation.
I don't want to talk to him.
Why?
I don't want to join that place. That was the creepiest thing about talking to Bricker is that he's trying to reel me into this place, sending vans to pick me up. Insane.
He didn't send a van.
I mean, he talked about a van driving in front of my house.
That's pretty crazy.
I actually looked out the window.
I'm sticking to I think he's losing it a little bit.
Right.
This is someone who is not all
Billy,
put
try and
together
get a
there.
hold of David. Let's see if we can get David to talk to Greg Cote because it'll be funny and it'll make it even a little bit weirder. Just let's see let's see if there's a payoff in this anywhere that can be found.
You guys don't feel bad about this?
I'm not a part of it. So
Jess is not a part of it. Do you guys not feel bad about any of this? That like this old man we're taking advantage of for content?
Which
Cody?
one?
Oh, you guys piled on that one, didn't you?
I mean, can you tell me what's going on with Bronny? He's getting a lot of coverage. We are covering the son the way that we covered the father, and the son cannot be the father. The son.
Father, Son, God's breath, Jesus at Red Rocks.
Can you tell me, Bronny, what kind of prospect he is? Because they were showing a lot of his dunks, or they were showing a dunk of his
yes.
a number of times here as we
Yes.
cover his son the way that we covered him.
Well, Dan, you know, one thing I love about this show, our show, is when we do show synergy. Because this week on Basketball Illuminati, we dug deep on this. Actually, we talked about it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, how Bronny, who is a consensus top 50 prospect in the nation, has 0 college offers. And we thought, that's very strange. And we started going through what are some of the things he might be doing instead of going to college. And one of the things that we mentioned was maybe he's going to go the G League Ignite route. So
Has he not committed to Oregon?
He hasn't talked to anybody. He hasn't had a single visit. He has 0 offers. So in the time since that episode dropped 2 weeks ago today, things happened, that dunk happened, and people are starting to talk about him again. And so Paul Biancardi, who's a recruiting expert over at ESPN.com, writes and says he doesn't have any offers, but it's still early in the process. Well, Tom Habistro did his own research and looked up of the top 100 prospects in the nation. The average number of offers they have going into the senior year, 15. The lowest number after Bronny's 0 is, I believe, the 98th player in the nation has 3 offers. And then a couple guys have 4. So this is highly irregular that a prospect who, regardless of what his name is, he's top 50 and he has 0 offers. And so we try to dig into that a little bit on Basketball Illuminati.
But are you embargoing the information on this? Are you telling me that Bronny is an overhyped stiff?
No, what I'm telling you is something weird is happening here. Because one would think even a school like Akron or Dayton would just throw one against the wall like, hey, we offered, just to say, hey, we're the first ones to offer LeBron James Jr. a scholarship.
More than that, if you don't mind me interrupting, if you're a smaller publicity-seeking school, you would love to have LeBron James's son, even if he's not that good.
Right.
Just for the publicity and the attention.
There was a lot of conversation about whether or not Bronny was going to enter the G League. Perhaps there was some conversation about, what if this is LeBron's way of maybe going to the league and saying, hey, how about we go back to players being eligible from 18 years of age as opposed to 19 years of age and getting rid of the player eligibility rules. And that now it seems as though he's entering the college recruiting process more formally. I saw that he was linked to the move to Oregon.
So LeBron tweeted.
And then LeBron clarified that we're not doing that just yet.
We're not doing anything. We haven't had a single visit. And so a lot of these rumors are coming out just to fill the space. But I'll tell you what, there is a case study right now in the G League. There's a player named Scoot Henderson, right? Scoot Henderson, one of the best prospects in the nation, didn't just forego his year of college. He forgone?
Yes, go on.
He foregone his senior year of high school. He did his senior year of high school in the G League with the G League Ignite, and now he's doing his second year with Ignite, and he'll be draft eligible at the end of this season. He's going to be a top 5 prospect in the NBA draft. So one of the things that we've been talking about on Basketball Illuminati is, what if Bronny's gearing up to do the same thing? He's going into his senior year of high school. Screw it. Going straight to the G League. Going to the Ignite. Be part of that program for a year. At the end of the year, what Chris just said, they might change the rule. They've had conversations. Adam Silver brought it up at the Board of Governors meeting last month in Las Vegas, that there is a push to change the age limit from 19 back down to 18. If that were the case, then Bronny would be draft eligible right now in 2023. And you say, what does it matter? I mean, why does it matter if he's 2024, 2023 draft eligible?
Yeah, play with LeBron.
LeBron's contract ends this season. This is his last season. People say, oh, he's going to sign an extension, but he hasn't yet. Why not? Well, if you're trying to figure out where my son's going to go.
Well, he said he wants to play with his son.
Well, he said he wants to play with his son, but specifically, we've all thought, well, the earliest that can happen is 2024, so he has to sign an extension in order to do this. But what if he doesn't? What if the rules change in the meantime and he's eligible in 2023 and LeBron is free in 2023 and now you can be a package deal?
Basketball Illuminati.
Third eye open.
Keep it open.
Well, and I think, if Bronny James is eligible that year, if you're saying, where is he now? He's a top 50 prospect
Top
there or
50,
thereabouts?
yes.
What if that gets Bronny James overdrafted? Because if a team that says, I can go draft Bronny James and LeBron James, essentially, that you're signing LeBron to a one-year deal as a result of that player getting drafted, thus perhaps making Bronny James more money with his first rookie contract.
Let's play this fun game, guys. How high of a draft pick would you take Bronny James simply for the right to get LeBron James? How high, Dan? Are you going first round? Are you going lottery pick?
Oh, I'd give anything. I'd give anything that's not a top 10 pick. Sure, if I could just get, and it depends on how much marketing if I'm not even interested in my team necessarily being good, I just need my team. I'll go higher than that if I just need my team to have a circus tent around it.
Can we play the game of what would be the funniest team to draft Bronny, and then LeBron has to play his final NBA season?
That'd be
Is it the
great.
Kings?
Sacramento.
I feel like it's
Sacramento.
the Kings.
The answer is always
There's
Sacramento.
probably some other funny ones
I'm going to
too.
say not Sacramento. Here's why. Because Sacramento allows LeBron, in essence, to still live in LA and just commute via
That's a long
Kardashian.
That's a long.
By that Kardashian jet, though. The one that,
I think I saw a stat yesterday that the only team that is yet to play on Christmas is the Charlotte Hornets. That they are the least relevant franchise in that respect. Jordan's a great shout.
Yeah, that would be a weird one.
Well, why would it be weird?
Yeah, Orlando.
Charlotte, way more weird of dynamic because you got LeBron versus Jordan, right? And then you got Bronny versus Melo, right? Because they've kind of got their little star wonderkind or whatever. You add this guy, and depending on how good or not good he is, it creates a tension. Attention for attention. Get it?
I think Orlando would be funny.
Whoa!
Splash,
Wait a minute.
That was a computer
my finger
protesting.
drifted. My finger drifted.
Your fingers were protesting. Your fingers were doing a protest. They said no.
You were
no, Witty.
You were very pleased with that.
Attention for attention.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. That's great. That's wordsmith right there.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
You're a writer.
I am.
That's wordsmith.
Yes.
I want to talk this out in front of the audience because Greg Cote is uncomfortable, and I don't blame him for being uncomfortable. We don't want to be disrespectful, but we have reached this David from God's Breath, and is he the cult leader, or is he? Well, I don't even want to call it a cult. I shouldn't have called it a cult. That's my bad start. Okay, but I want to talk this out on air because we've gotten a hold of him. Greg's here, but he doesn't really want to do this conversation. I told him, let's just talk to the guy and hear him out and see if there's any good content here, because Greg has rekindled and repaired his relationship with the old nemesis, Charles Bricker. Charles Bricker is living with 60 to 80 people, he said, on the Gulf Coast. He invited Greg Cote. I'm covering this correctly, right? He invited Greg Cote to give up all his possessions, and live with Charles Bricker. And David is related to God's Breath. How? He runs the place?
I think so. But are you and Charles good? Because I wasn't certain by the end of the call.
Yeah. Yes. Good being a relative word. Are we... Do we have some sort of an amicable relationship now? I suppose so. I'm certainly not going to be joining any commune of any sort and leaving my life's possessions behind.
Well, I feel like that was, He's asking you to visit, like to see it, right? He wasn't asking you to necessarily
give it a chance. Have an open mind about it.
You know, here's an idea though. No, I'm not going to do it.
It's not exactly an idea.
That's not an idea, and it's not the way we can do this. Like we need it as content. We need humor at least.
You can't be dismissive
without insulting him. Like
if that's
I'll do
the
my
energy,
best.
it's not going to go
That's
well.
not
I'll
gonna
do my
work.
best.
It's not going to work.
that energy, and also I can't stress this enough. Dan, you cannot call it a cult because you're the biggest culprit here. You've been calling it a cult all day.
Culprit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
You beat me to it. That's right.
And I'm the show killer.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
I'll be respectful.
Yeah, guys have to.
Greg, we don't want to disrespect. I don't know. Well, where is this person? Is this person there? Have we that person is not there yet. Okay, we will wait. We will wait because it's David.
David turned over his watch.
From God's breath. And David is going to, I guess, sell Cody on God's breath. We will find out in a moment as soon as we get him on the line. David, are you there? I'm sorry. I don't know what you've been told here, what information you have. I don't know how it is you've arrived at our doorstep. I guess you're familiar with Charles Bricker. Greg Cote is here. Why is it that you're talking to us, or what is it that you want us to know?
My name is David. I'm contacting you from the Tampa Bay Gulf Coast area, and I'm looking to speak to a Gregory Cote.
Greg Cote is here. Greg Cote is his name.
I'm here. Hi, David.
Mr. Cote, I believe you are friends with my brother Charles Bricker, who has said that you are a lovely soul and that I should reach out to you in regards to your involvement in the God's Breath movement.
Charles and I knew each other a little bit a long time ago. I don't think I have any involvement in the movement, but I'm happy you're happy.
He said to me, he intimated that you may have some desires to transform your life.
I'm very happy with my life. And I'm happy you're happy with yours.
That is not the picture that Charles painted.
Okay.
He said you are a man on the verge of collapse and desperation. Your every cheerful smile covering up a gaping sadness that cuts through your life to the eternal.
Wow. So a guy I hadn't spoken to in like 40 years knows a lot about me, apparently.
Your snark and your sarcasm covers up your need and wants. All I'm telling you, Gregory, is do not be afraid. We have a conversion van driven by Sean, who is a member of God's Breath. He will come by, pick you up. You will drink a warm, soothing drink that will put you in a relaxed, suggestive state. And you will come up to the Gulf Coast region, and I will baptize you.
David, I appreciate that offer. I will decline, but I thank you for your hospitality.
I'm going to say some words to you, and they will seem forceful, but in a year's time, you will thank me for them. You will not decline. You will not decline.
Wow. David?
You will be donating 10% of your income. Oh, shit.
What? David, what happened? The hell's going on here?
What?
Oh, fuck.
What?
I'm sorry. That was too ridiculous. I couldn't hold that together.
I don't know what's going on here. I honestly don't.
Sorry.
Is this Bricker again? I don't know what's going on. All right, what's happening here?
I'm sorry. I usually don't break. That was just too insane.
Yes, I would agree with that. This is All right. What's the deal here?
He's fallen out of character, so that is Adam McKay, the filmmaker, who was also Charles Bricker yesterday.
Oh my God! All right, Adam, you did a masterful job yesterday, especially with Bricker. That was unbelievable.
It was just too preposterous.
Oh my God!
I'm surprised you didn't break when you said you will not decline.
I didn't know how to respond to something like that. I have never been threatened in that manner.
He did not believe that you had fallen for Charles Bricker. McKay did not believe that you fell for all of that.
Oh, that was legit. That was legit. I had my suspicions afterward, only because it was escalating insanity. Like I was buying everything. The 0-14 driving him into such depths of despair that he actually thought about suicide. It got a little crazy the more he repeatedly was referring to my wife as Snippy and
Lippy
and Snippy and all that, and then the whole cult thing, God's breath, that got very strange. It made me wonder about the whole thing, but I'm also thinking, well, Charles Bricker, he was quite a bit older than me. He's just turned insane. He's just a crazy person, and I'm going to be polite to him because I'm a polite person.
Oh man, I wish I had held it together on David.
I was getting ready to end it simply because all of a sudden you're threatening me. David is threatening me, and putting a 10% vigorish on my wages with no authority to do so. I don't know what's going on here.
Adam, get out of here. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Thanks, Adam.
Oh, Lord.
You will not decline.
Yeah.
That was insane. That was just crazy.
Are you all happy with yourself?
Oh, my God.
I had nothing to do with this.
Mike Schur joins us again from Scotland. He's headed back somewhere to find more stats in more places, traveling internationally on Meadowlark's budget in order to find the best stats anywhere they can be found. Let's see what he's found today. Give him his music.
Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day. Start of the day, it is the start of the day.
Folks, the most three-pointers Michael Jordan ever had in a season was 111. Last year, in his rookie year for the Washington Wizards, playing 23 minutes a game, Corey Kispert had 112. And because I'm leaving Scotland today, I'm heading back to the States. I have a special Scottish Highland Games stat of the day.
Sounds wonderful.
Dan, as we all know, the longest throw of the hammer in the Highland Games is 129 feet, 10 and a half inches by Mark Sanford at Halkirk, Caithness on August 1st, 1998. As we also all know, the hammer weighs 9.97 kilograms. A classic double serving of Maxween traditional haggis weighs 455 grams. So that's the equivalent of throwing 44 servings of Maxween traditional haggis more than 39 and a half meters.
Thank you. I don't know what any of that means.
Mike, yesterday you confronted me about my wire take, and I've had some time to chew on it, and I've seen the mentions, and you were right. I was wrong. So henceforth, I will start saying that The Wire was absolutely crap for 1.5 seasons. So bad that I didn't watch the rest, but I will clarify and not cast that wide net. Hour-long dramas do not need a season and a half to find their footing.
You doubled down on it.
No. I'm saying, I'm sure it's a good show. Enough people that I respect, including Mike Schur, even though he won't show me the same respect when ranking his favorite podcast, I will agree that it's probably a good show. Enough people say it. And that aligns me with Jason Whitlock, and I do not like that. But I will maintain first season and a half, all that I've watched, crap.
Whittingham, do you have a competing stat of the day?
I do. Josh Johnson, the quarterback, played for the Denver Broncos in preseason at the weekend. It is his 14th team in the NFL. Josh Johnson has played for 14 teams in the NFL, which is a record, and he has also played in 4 different football leagues. He has played in the NFL, the UFL, the AAF, and the XFL. 14 teams, 4 leagues for Josh Johnson.
I mean, hasn't Ish Smith played for 13 teams or 14 teams?
He's at 14. That's more of a Tom Haberstroh stat, though, about Ish Smith. You know, he's got the whole Wake Forest thing going. But yeah.
Why does that get to be his stat?
Because have you ever heard Tom talk about anyone that went to Wake Forest?
Yeah, he's crazy.
He won't shut the hell up, right? So Ish Smith is. So we interviewed Tommy Shepard, who was the GM of the Wizards at Summer League, and Tom asked him about the huge deal they made to get rid of Ish Smith and how are you guys going to recover. Like, this is right after like Bradley Beal signs his extension. Tom's asking about Ish Smith.
Yeah, he's strange. He's got some bad judgment. Thank you, Mike Schur. Thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate you making this time from Scotland to
just displayed good judgment. I'm just trying to be clear.